Chapter 249. Rin and Osaka and Luvia were in disbelief. After all, magic circuits were the foundation of a magician. Moreover, it was an innate foundation that couldn't be improved. It was like a person who was born with the governor and conception meridians, but for some reason, one of the meridians disappeared. The consequence was a great decrease in strength. Magic circuits? What's that? I don't feel anything, Ilya said in a daze. It's an invisible organ. It's like a channel that releases and stores magic power. The quality and quantity of magic circuits represent a magician's potential. After all, magicians with high-quality magic circuits and a large number of them would definitely be more powerful than magicians with low-quality magic circuits and a small number of them using normal means. The reason why it was a normal method was because many magician criminals had flaws in their magic circuits. Therefore, they used opportunistic methods to make themselves stronger than other magicians with high-quality magic circuits. Thus, they embarked on the path of crime. Moreover, there were also methods to transplant magic circuits. However, these methods were extremely rare or extremely difficult to achieve. Moreover, even if the magic circuits of others were successfully transplanted, there was no guarantee that there wouldn't be rejection. This was just like transplanting other people's organs. The body would reject the transplanted organs. If one was unlucky, they might die instantly after the magic circuits were transplanted. Rin and Osaka, who didn't believe in heresy, also walked over and grabbed Ilya's hand. He circulated his magic power and examined it. It's a lie. 2/3 of the magic circuits really disappeared. However, Ilya has always been by our side. She didn't lose her memory or anything else. How could Ilya's magic circuits disappear for no reason? Luvia analyzed. In response, Wuming brought up another topic. Luvia and Rin, take out your class cards and let me see. Although they didn't know why they had to look at their class cards, Luvia and Rin and Osaka still obediently took out their class cards. However, there were only 6 class cards on the table. What's going on? Archer disappeared. Rin and Osaka scratched his ears and cheeks as he searched for the missing class cards and said in a panic. Wuming, on the other hand, revealed an expression of truth. Based on our previous analysis, it seems that Black Ilya is indeed Ilya. However, everyone was dumbfounded. Wuming then picked up the 6 rank cards on the table. Let's take a look at these grade cards first. In the Holy Grail War, the ranks of the 7 servants included these 6 rank cards. Saber, swordsman, with the highest attributes, lancer, lancer, with the most agile, rider, rider, with a mount, caster, magician, with superb magic, assassin, assassin, with the ability to hide oneself, and berserker, berserker, with the ability to sacrifice reason to increase one's attributes. Wuming picked up the 6 class cards and explained in detail. The only thing missing is an archer with a powerful projectile or even a powerful noble phantasm. Recalling that Black Ilya was wearing something similar to Amiya, Mayu understood. Brother Wuming, do you mean that Black Ilya is the materialization of the archer class card? Wuming shook his head. To be precise, the sealed Ilya came out through the archer class card. Everyone suddenly realized. That's all for today. I need to investigate some information so that I can fully understand Black Ilya's situation. With that said, Wuming touched Ilya's head. And you don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you're the little Holy Grail. Ilya is Ilya, and this won't change. We won't change our feelings for you because of your identity. That's right, Ilya. In my eyes, you're still that reckless little brat. This won't change. Rin and Osaka said proudly. If possible, I really hope that I can leave a good impression in your heart. Ilya complained helplessly. Everyone laughed. At the same time, Wuming looked at Mayu. Wuming's lips moved slightly as if he was mouthing something. Mayu, who was extremely knowledgeable, naturally understood Wuming's lips. Wuming said, You too, my little sister Mayu. At this moment, the different feelings that gathered in Mayu's heart because Ilya was hugging Wuming had disappeared. Brother Wuming. Mayu clenched her hands and placed them in front of her chest. She lowered her head and whispered in a voice that no one else could hear. Hey, by the way, Ilya, how much longer are you going to hug Wuming? You've hugged him enough. At this moment, Ruby, who had been silent all this while, suddenly flew to Ilya's side and teased her. What? Only then did Ilya realize that she was still hugging Wuming. Big brother, I didn't do it on purpose. I don't have any other thoughts. Don't misunderstand, Ilya said with a red face. Aw, you're not frank enough. Big brother from before was like this and now big brother is like this as well. Shut up. Ilya's eyes were filled with tears. She grabbed Ruby and covered her with both hands. Wuming shook his head helplessly. Of course he could see Ilya's feelings for him. However, Wuming only treated it as a feeling of dependence. He was just an elementary school student. How would he know about love? Wuming looked outside the window. It was almost dark. Therefore Wuming spoke. Since it's already so late, why don't you stay for a meal? I've been away for so long. I don't know if your tastes have changed. No. We like everything you cook. Hurry up and go. Treat it as a welcome banquet for you, Wuming. This was the down-and-out young lady Rin Tozaka who was used to freeloading. Speaking of which, it was a first for the main character to personally cook for a welcome banquet. Although it's a little hard to say, your culinary skills are indeed not bad. I, Livia Sarinta Eiderfelt, will make do with your meal for today. This was the real young lady Livia who was drooling. Really? I'm really looking forward to Big Brother's cooking. This was Ilya who had an expectant expression. Stare. This was Mayu who didn't say anything and only looked at Wuming. Do you still want to eat omelette rice, Mayu? Wuming smiled and patted Mayu's head. Yeah. Mayu nodded. Alright. Today I'll show off my cooking skills and make you a sumptuous dinner. As for the ingredients, Wuming indicated that the transportation gate could still be used. Just like that, the Shuoyu's family held a welcoming banquet with the person being welcomed as the chef. Chapter 250. The next morning, Wuming woke up the rest of them who were still sleeping. Because they had too much fun yesterday, they ended up staying at the Shuasuki residence. My head hurts. Did I bump into something last night? Rin Enosaka held his aching head and walked out of the guest room unsteadily. Damn it. I must have stayed with Rin Enosaka for too long. Is this bad luck? Livia also held her aching head and walked out of the guest room next to Rin Enosaka's. Ilya and Mayu were already sitting at the dining table and enjoying the breakfast that Wuming prepared with love. Yes, a brother's love for his sister. You two hurry up and wash up. It's almost time for class. The two instantly rushed into the bathroom. Damn it. Blonde girl, do you need to wash up? Just pull your hair a few times and you'll be fine. You're the one. You're just a wild monkey. You don't need to dress up. Then, there was another round of chaos. Ilya and Mayu sat opposite each other. Ilya yawned and was lacking sleep. Even Mayu, who had always been energetic, was now feeling tired. Ruby and Sapphire floated beside them and chatted leisurely with Ilya and Mayu. I told you to sleep early. Now you know you're wrong. Wuming teased. Last night they started having fun when they were eating. Because they had too much fun, by the time they finished eating, they realized that it was already very late. Left with no choice, Wuming called Sila from Ilya's family and helped Ilya apply for leave. Just like that, Ilya once again stayed at the Shuasuki residence. As for Livia and Rin Enosaka, because it was already late, they decided to stay. It can't be helped. Big Brother hasn't come back for so long. Everyone misses you. Ilya ate her breakfast and her listless face instantly became extremely beautiful. Wuming smiled bitterly and shook his head. Then Wuming noticed Mayu's resentful eyes. In fact, Mayu wanted to sleep with Wuming last night because Ilya said that she could sleep with Mayu. In the end, Mayu couldn't resist the temptation and fell asleep with Ilya. Speaking of which, when did the relationship between the two of you become so good that you even sleep together? Wuming was a little puzzled. It's all right. Actually, Mayu is very popular in school right now. She's much better than when she first transferred here. Ilya rubbed her head and smiled. After all, although Mayu had begun to take the initiative to communicate with others, due to the personality that she had cultivated from the past and the temperament of an ice beauty, there were not many people who could communicate with Mayu. You don't have to force yourself, Mayu. You're already doing very well now. Although Wuming wasn't by Wuming's side during this period of time, Wuming received information about Mayu through the class card with the dragon engraved on it. This was also related to the fact that Mayu had been carrying it with her. You don't need to communicate with others? I got it, Brother Wuming. It seems that Mayu misunderstood something. Wuming hurriedly said. Actually, it's better for you to communicate with others more. After all, this is a rare school life that even I haven't experienced. By the way, Big Brother is also a heroic spirit, right? What's Big Brother's real name? Ilya asked curiously. Mayu, who was sitting next to Wuming, was also a little curious. Although Mayu knew Wuming's real name yesterday, she didn't have time to check the information. Mayu only knew that Wuming was her brother, and she never paid attention to Wuming's previous story. It could be said that Mayu didn't ask and Wuming didn't say anything. If it's the current caster, magician, Class, my real name should be Xianxia. Wuming thought for a while and answered Ilya's doubts. Huh? Xianxia, is that a real name? I really haven't heard of anyone named Xianxia in legend. Ilya smiled a little awkwardly. After all, she didn't know his name, so she was a little embarrassed. I can't blame you for this, it's just that Sumer legend is not very famous in the world. After washing up, Rin Tozaka, who was dressed in formal clothes, sat next to Ilya and explained. However, half of Rin Tozaka's face was a little swollen. Fortunately, Ilya didn't notice it and asked, Sumer legend? Is Big Brother from Sumer legend? The great sage who taught the ancient king who has the closest relationship with Tiamat, the creator of Mesopotamia, and the most mysterious legendary dragon. Even the world's oldest epic, the Epic of Gilgamesh, has very little information about him. Livia also finished washing up and sat next to Mayu. However, the side of Livia's face was also a little swollen. Big Brother is so powerful. Ilya looked at Wuming with some surprise. Mayu, on the other hand, had heard the news from Livia yesterday, so she wasn't too shocked. Rin Tozaka and Livia looked at each other, and their gazes collided as if they were bursting with intense electric sparks. Now, Ilya and Mio were sitting across from each other at the dining table. Rin Enbin and Livia were sitting on either side of Ilya and Mio, looking at each other. Wuming sat on the other side of Mayu. Alright, if you don't hurry up, you're really going to be late. Then Rin Tozaka and Livia stopped looking at each other and hurriedly ate the breakfast that Wuming prepared. Then we'll be leaving first. Ilya and Mayu, who had finished eating, said. It's rare that I'm free today, why don't I go visit you? Wuming smiled at Ilya and Mayu. Then Mayu's smile gradually widened and she nodded heavily. Okay. About a few minutes later, a golden sports car appeared at the entrance of Swagun Garden Academy's elementary school. Although because of Wuming's superb skills, there was still a while before Ilya and Mayu's class. Ilya looked at Wuming with some embarrassment, then said. Big Brother, isn't this a bit too ostentatious? After all, Wuming's car was made by Wuming using Create Green item. Not only was its performance comparable to a high-level magic dress, but its appearance was also quite expensive. Once Ilya and Mayu got out of the car, it would definitely cause a commotion. On the contrary, Mayu was used to it. After all, Wuming was not short of money. It could be said that since Wuming adopted Mayu, Mayu had been living like a young lady. Although Wuming and Mayu often walked here in the past, that was just because Wuming wanted to give Mayu a sense of ordinary life. As long as she was with Wuming, no matter what Mayu did, she would feel happy. However, it was best to avoid unnecessary commotion. Then Wuming stretched out a hand, and several Lune runes fell on the two of them. Okay, I'll now apply the concealment rune on you. It will only last for a few minutes. If you get out of the car now, others will only treat you as passers-by, and it won't cause a commotion. You're a great help, Big Brother. After thanking him, Ilya pulled Mayu and ran into the school. Wuming still remembered Mayu's confused face at the end, and he couldn't help but laugh. At this time, Wuming noticed a magical power. Wuming looked at the top of a telephone pole, and a dark-skinned girl wearing a rather revealing black and red trench coat stood there. Ilya. Chapter 251. Black Ilya, who was standing on the telephone pole, seemed to have noticed Wuming looking at her. She immediately bent down and jumped away. Wuming parked the car in a nearby parking lot and got out. Wuming went directly to the roof of a building in the Panicle Garden Academy's elementary school. Wuming had a feeling that Black Ilya must have come for Ilya. Sure enough, Wuming discovered Black Ilya hiding on the roof of the building opposite Elias. Wuming gathered mana in his eyes and looked at Black Ilya. Black Ilya was looking at Ilya, who was in the middle of class. Wuming could clearly see a trace of envy and unwillingness in Black Ilya's eyes. Wuming exerted strength in his legs and jumped behind Black Ilya. Black Ilya quickly turned around vigilantly. When she saw that it was Wuming, her expression relaxed. What? It's Big Brother, Black Ilya said in a frivolous tone. Now Wuming was even more certain that Black Ilya was Ilya. Although her tone was frivolous, Wuming couldn't be wrong about the feeling that Black Ilya gave him. You're Ilya, right? Wuming asked. As expected of my big brother. You can see my nature at a glance. That's right, I'm Ilya, Black Ilya said happily. Wuming could see that this Ilya in front of him also had special feelings for him. So Wuming stretched out a hand. Then Ilya, can you talk to me? However, Black Ilya chose to reject her beloved big brother. Not now, big brother. Wait until Ilya gets rid of the other Ilya. That way, Ilya will be able to happily stay by big brother's side. Black Elia said something that Wuming didn't understand. Then, Black Elia suddenly jumped away and left. Wuming watched this scene quietly. He didn't stop Black Elia from leaving, nor did he say anything. He just thought. After a while, Wuming used teleportation portal to arrive at Zelika's room. Wuming's goal was to learn all the information about the sealed Fourth Holy Grail War. After communicating with Zelika again, Wuming obtained the information. Wuming returned to the empty Xuanhuan residence. After Wuming sent Mayu and Elia to school, Rin and Luvia also went to school. Wuming had said that he would try to get in touch with the other Ilya and told Rin Tasaka and the others not to worry about it and to focus on going to school. That was why Rin Tasaka and Luvia, who were supposed to take a leave of absence, went to school. Wuming sat on the sofa with a magic book in his hand. Zelika seemed to have guessed that Wuming would come back, so he prepared this magic book that recorded all the information in advance and handed it to Wuming when Wuming came. Turning the spell book around, Wuming pondered over what Black Elia had told him. Wuming didn't think that Black Elia was joking when she said, "Get rid of Elia." However, Black Elia seemed to want to replace Elia, so she definitely wouldn't do it in public. Elia was currently in class, so Wuming believed that Black Elia wouldn't do it. Wuming spent almost half a day memorizing all the information in the book. "Kalas, have you recorded all this?" Wuming asked. "Yes, master, everything has been recorded." A golden dragon horn accessory appeared on Wuming's head. Then Wuming's hand that was holding the magic book instantly ignited with white flames. The magic book that recorded the information about the sealed Fourth Holy Grail War was burned by Wuming just like that. If the magicians saw this, they would be devastated. After all, every magic book was a precious existence, even this magic book that could only record things was the same. Then Wuming got up and walked out of the house. Near the Cluster Garden Academy's primary school. Just as Wuming thought, Black Elia didn't do anything to Elia in public. At this moment, Black Elia was sitting on a wall, swinging her legs in boredom, thinking about something. Wuming walked over. More importantly, Wuming was holding 2 ice creams in his hand. "Isn't this Elia? What a coincidence, do you want an ice cream?" Wuming looked at Black Elia with a smile. "Big brother, are you here to stop me? I said that after I get rid of Elia, I'll listen to you obediently." Black Elia looked at Wuming with a vigilant smile. "I didn't say I was going to stop you. I just happened to run into you and I happened to buy an extra ice cream, so I wanted to invite you to eat it with me. Besides, you can't do anything right now, right? Why don't you accept my invitation?" Wuming looked at Black Elia with the same kind expression as before. "Seeing that big brother is so sincere, I'll accept the invitation." After thinking for a while, Black Elia jumped off the wall and came to Wuming's side with a smile. "Let's go sit in the park," Wuming suggested. Black Elia naturally nodded. Wuming and Black Elia sat down on the chairs in the nearby park. Because it wasn't the weekend, the students basically had to go to class and work. Hence, the small park was empty. "Here, this is strawberry flavored." Wuming put the pink ice cream in his hand in front of Black Elia. Wuming knew Elia very well. She often came to freeload on his food. She usually liked strawberry-flavored ice cream. Hence, Wuming guessed that Black Elia also liked strawberry-flavored ice cream. "You're so considerate, big brother, you even know what kind of ice cream I like to eat? You don't have any thoughts about me, do you?" Black Elia took off her clothes slightly and pretended to be seductive as she spoke. Smack. "It hurts." Black Elia hugged her little head that Wuming had hit with his karate chop. Tears welled up in the corners of her eyes. Wuming caught the strawberry-flavored ice cream that was thrown up because he wanted to hit Black Elia. Then he put it in front of Black Elia again. "You're just an elementary school student. Don't pretend to be seductive in front of me. You're still 10 years away from that body of yours." Wuming teased. "I want big brother to feed me." Hearing Wuming's words, Black Elia threw a tantrum. Wuming smiled helplessly, then put the ice cream in front of Black Elia's mouth. Black Elia took a big bite of the ice cream as if the ice cream was Wuming. "Speaking of which, I can't call you Elia. It's easy to confuse you with the other Elia. How about I call you Black Elia?" After all, Black Elia's skin was much darker than Elia's. Elia's skin was snow white, while Black Elia's skin was a healthy dark color. "Big brother is so annoying. Isn't Black Elia like a puppy?" Black Elia said unhappily. Then Black Elia's eyes lit up and she looked at Wuming with a smile. "I've thought about it. My name will be Chloe." "Chloe?" "Yes, Chloe von Erzbrunn." Chapter 252. Wuming looked at Chloe with a different gaze. Names were especially important things. Whether it was the true name of a follower, a word spirit based on a name, or a technique to curse others, a name was indispensable. Blackie gave herself a name, which meant that she didn't want to become Ilya or a substitute for Ilya. Instead, she wanted to become a person with a true meaning of existence. Well, but I can also specially allow Big Brother to call me Blackie. Blackie smiled and then took another bite of ice cream, revealing a happy expression. It's delicious. So Ilya wasn't wrong. Eating ice cream is this kind of enjoyment. Blackie couldn't taste the deliciousness before? Wuming asked with some heartache. If that was the case, then it was indeed a bit too much for Blackie. As expected, Big Brother already knows about me. Now there's a secret between Big Brother and me that even Ilya doesn't have. Blackie said with a grin. Wuming released his hand that was feeding Blackie the ice cream. The ice cream floated in the air as though a floating magic spell was cast. Then, Wuming placed his hand on Blackie's head and gently stroked it. It's been hard on you, Blackie? Wuming, who already knew everything, was qualified to say this. Then, will Big Brother, who knows everything, stop me? Blackie looked at Wuming's eyes. Of course. Wuming said without hesitation. Then Big Brother is my enemy. Xiaohei looked at Wuming firmly and said in a tone that would not allow him to go back on his words. Now the atmosphere became a bit silent. However, grumble, grumble, grumble. The sound of a hungry stomach sounded and the silent atmosphere was broken. At this moment, Blackie and Wuming were both stunned. Wuming looked at Blackie's stomach with a polite smile and said, "You probably haven't eaten since yesterday." Although Blackie was similar to a follower of a job class card, it was still half of Ilya's body. It was just relying on the archer, job class card, so it naturally needed to eat. But after all, Little Black was all alone. Not to mention a place to stay, he didn't even have money. How was he going to eat? Blackie nodded. After all, I don't have money and I don't have a place to stay. Last night, I even spent it on the park bench that you were sitting on. Xiaohei said in a lonely voice. It's my fault. You didn't have to run away yesterday. I wouldn't have done anything to you. It's my fault for not stopping you. Wuming said as he let go of the ice cream in his other hand. The ice cream floated in the air like the previous ice cream. Then Wuming gently patted Wuming's head. Let's go. I'll make it up to you today. You can eat whatever you want. Really? Big Brother is the best. Xiaohei happily jumped into Wuming's arms. Wuming patted Xiaohei's head and was even more determined to let Xiaohei live a peaceful life. In the next half a day, Wuming took Xiaohei to eat almost all the famous food in Winterwood City. Then Wuming took Xiaohei to the amusement park and had a good time. As for Xiaohei's clothes, Xiaohei easily used magic to project his clothes into home clothes. When it was almost late, Wuming took Xiaohei back to Shuayu's house. Are you happy today, Xiaohei? Wuming held Xiaohei's hand and smiled gently. Yes, I'm really happy with Big Brother. At this time, Xiaohei didn't look like the person who threatened to kill her. Then I'll make you a delicious dinner when we get home. Wuming tightly held Xiaohei's hand. Big Brother brought me home to stop me from getting rid of Ilya? Big Brother is really cunning. He actually set a trap for me here. Xiaohei felt that she couldn't pull her hand away and said gloomily. The two who were originally walking stopped. To be precise, it was Xiaohei who stopped. Wuming also stopped. Xiaohei, I'm not stopping you. I'm protecting you. Wuming turned around and squatted down, looking at the unhappy Xiaohei and said, even if you took away 2/3 of Ilya's magic circuit and greatly reduced her strength, you still can't underestimate her. After all, Ilya has the help of Mayu, Rin Enbin and Luvia. Trifling magical girls, as long as I snatch their stellar magic staff, they will be completely useless. Xiaohei said, somewhat unconvinced. As for those two idiots, I don't think they can pose any threat to me. Looking at Xiaohei, who was like a proud little black cat, Wuming smiled and shook his head. You can't underestimate them. No matter what, they are also experienced magicians. Magicians who can survive in the magic world can't be underestimated, including the somewhat silly-looking Rin Enbin and Luvia. Although they are sometimes unreliable, if you underestimate them you will suffer a big loss. After all, the fact that the two idiots could survive in the magic world can be said to be a miracle in itself. Cough cough, then I really have to thank Big Brother for reminding me. After saying that, Xiaohei instantly disappeared in front of Wuming. Space teleportation? Wuming's eyes widened. The disappeared Xiaohei appeared on a wall near Wuming. How did you do it? I don't remember that archer, being able to teleport. Wuming looked at the proud Xiaohei and asked curiously. Wuming wanted to leave Big Brother, so I was able to do this. Xiao Hei's words made Wu Ming a little concerned. Could it be Xiao Hei's original characteristic? Wu Ming thought in his heart. I didn't expect Xiao Hei to be able to do this, it's really impressive. Wu Ming pretended to be helpless and said, Big brother, you must be planning something, I won't be fooled again. After saying that, Xiao Hei was about to leave. But, clatter? The sound of chains came from all around Xiao Hei. The moment Xiao Hei was about to turn around, Xiao Hei was tied up. Big brother, do you think this can stop me? Xiao Hei said with a smile, then began to gather magical power to use space teleportation. But, did you find that you can't use your magical power, Xiao Hei? Wu Ming said with a slight smile. Damn it. Big brother, you're bullying me. Xiao Hei resisted. It couldn't be helped, who asked Enkidu to have evolved to the effect of sealing magical power. Xiao Hei, who had the skill mind's eye pseudo, naturally noticed the incoming chains. Relying on his space teleportation, Xiao Hei didn't teleport away, but accepted the binding of Enkidu. In the end, Xiao Hei didn't know that Enkidu could seal magical power, so Xiao Hei was once again caught by Wu Ming. Just accept your fate. Wu Ming said with a smile, then carried Xiao Hei, who was bound by Enkidu, on his shoulder. Big brother is a bad guy. Chapter 253. Shuasuki Residence. Ilya and the others came here after school because they received news from Wu Ming. Wu Ming and Little Black sat in the main seats while Ilya, Meiyu, Rin Enbin, and Luvia sat around Wu Ming and Little Black, looking at Little Black as if they were looking at a monkey. At this moment, Little Black and Wu Ming were sitting together with a chain on their wrists. After all, Heaven Lock Enkidu evolved from Enkidu's soul coiling around Wu Ming's arm. Naturally, it started from Wu Ming's arm. And Wu Ming used Heaven Lock Enkidu to bind Little Black, so it was inevitable that the two of them would be bound together like in the picture. Taking a closer look, you really look exactly the same as Ilya. Rin Enbin poked Little Black's cheeks and said curiously, I'm not a rare animal. Don't touch me like this, Little Black said unhappily. After all, she was forcefully kidnapped by Wu Ming. Of course she would be unhappy. Apart from the color and tone, you are indeed exactly the same as Ilya, Luvia added. Come to think of it, I feel a little awkward looking at myself, Ilya said weakly. Are you all right, Ilya? Meiyu sniffed worriedly. During the day, Ilya's mind wandered more than once and was punished by the teacher. Thinking about it, it was actually quite simple. Ignoring the sudden appearance of Blackie's doppelganger, Ilya didn't have a good night's sleep after Wu Ming told her about the Ahrensberg family. Anyone would be concerned about such a situation. It would be a lie to say that I'm fine. I really miss the ordinary life of the past. At this moment, Little Black was a bit unhappy after hearing Ilya's words. In an instant, Little Black hugged Wu Ming's arm and kept rubbing against it. Big brother, I don't have enough mana. Let's replenish it. Replenish mana? Rin Enbin and Luvia exclaimed. Ilya and Meiyo's faces instantly turned red. After being told the meaning of mana replenishment, they became very shy. If Xiao Hei is really like a class card, then it really needs to be replenished. After all, the position of the class card is basically the position of the spiritual pulse. With the supply of mana from the spiritual pulse, the servant of the class card incarnation doesn't have to worry about the consumption of mana. Luvia analyzed. No, I can't. I can't accept using my face to replenish my mana with Big Brother. Ilya said with a tone that sounded like she was about to cry. I don't think it's a good idea either, Meiyu said in the smallest voice she had ever used since Wu Ming adopted Meiyu. Wu Ming knocked on Little Hei's head. Heaven Lock Enkidu has sealed away all of your remaining mana. You now have enough mana to support it. Little Black became even more unhappy. This time he turned his head especially hard. Don't let me find a chance or I will definitely kill you, Ilya, Little Black said fiercely. However, Ilya was somewhat disappointed and lowered her head. Ilya, who knew a lot of things, could almost understand the reason why Little Black wanted to kill her. Little Black was probably the personality of the Little Holy Grail. This was what Ilya thought. Wu Ming touched Ilya's head to cheer her up, and then began to explain the complete story about Little Black. 10 years ago, in order to let their daughter grow up like an ordinary person, Ilya's parents sealed away the memories and abilities of the next Little Holy Grail. As an artificially created Little Holy Grail, Ilya had been instilled with all of the knowledge about the Holy Grail War by the House of Einstein barons since birth. After the Holy Grail War was sealed away forever, in order to let their daughter grow up healthily, Ilya's parents sealed away this portion of memories and abilities in Ilya's body. In the past 10 years, a new personality was successfully born. This personality absorbed the sealed memories and knowledge and watched Ilya's daily life from the perspective of a bystander. And because Ilya came into contact with magic, this seal began to weaken. It was only when Ilya received the backlash of the mana from the ley line and the mana fluctuations caused by Wuming's return that this seal was completely broken. Simply put, Little Black is case Ilya, right? Rin and Osaka pulled out a pair of glasses out of nowhere and put them on as he spoke with a serious expression. Although I don't want to admit this, it's the truth, Wuming said helplessly. It's just that this case automatically restarted during the process of being abandoned. That's what it means, Luvia added. And the reason why Little Black wants to kill Ilya is to replace her and live an ordinary life? Mayu asked. Wuming shook his head. Maybe, it's just a simple imbalance in her heart. Hearing this, Little Black lowered her head. Wuming touched Little Black's head helplessly and began to speak. You're so negative already? This isn't the style of a big brother's little sister. Wuming teased Little Black half-jokingly. Hey Little Black, do you know why I didn't hesitate to choose to stop your plan to kill Ilya? I don't know and I don't want to know. In any case, I can't escape anymore. You can do whatever you want with me. Little Black said in despair. In response, Wuming waved his hand and stopped the few who wanted to say something. You're wrong if you think that way. Little Black, feel it now. I've already removed the Heaven Lock Enkidu's restriction on mana. You can now use mana. Hearing Wuming's words, Little Black operated the magic circuit and found that she could really use mana. Big brother, you're so confident in me? Aren't you afraid that I'll find an opportunity to assassinate Ilya after escaping? When she said the three words Ilya, Little Black pretended to glare fiercely at Ilya. But even so, Little Black had no intention of using space teleportation to escape. Listen to me, Little Black. Wuming removed the Heaven Lock Enkidu from Little Black. I stopped you from killing Ilya because she's my younger sister, so I have to protect her. But at the same time as Ilya's Little Black, you're also my younger sister. Thus I have to save you. Wuming looked at Little Black with a firm gaze. Wuming was also moved by Little Black's seriousness. At this time, Ilya also opened her mouth. I'm really sorry, Little Black. Ilya sat down on the ground and faced Little Black. I know about the House of Einstein Barons. Although I don't know how long you've been in my body and I don't know about the sufferings you've experienced, you still suffered because of me. No matter what, I have to bear a certain amount of responsibility. It could only be said that the girl who had experienced hardships had finally matured a little. Wuming looked at Ilya with gratification. The emotions in Little Black's eyes became even more obvious. After all, as Ilya's half-body, Little Black's character and moral character definitely wouldn't be bad. How about it, Little Black? Think about it. Wuming looked at Little Black with a smile. Little Black fell into contemplation. Chapter 254. Ilya raised her head and looked at Blackie. After a moment, Blackie spoke. Then let me ask you a question, Ilya. What question? Ilya swallowed her saliva and asked nervously. What is your current wish? Blackie looked at Ilya with a serious expression. My current wish is probably to return to my previous life, I guess. Ilya was vexed as she pondered deeply before giving her answer. Wuming wasn't surprised when he heard this answer. After all, Ilya was just an ordinary primary school student. She was suddenly drawn into the life of a magician and this caused her to be exhausted. Just like how we would usually think, how good would it be if I didn't do that thing? But, hearing Ilya's answer, Blackie lowered his head gloomily. As expected, we can't coexist. In an instant, a large amount of magic power erupted from Blackie's body. What? Ilya said in a panic. Calm down, Blackie. Rin Enbin, who could only use his hand to shield his eyes due to Blackie's super high magic power eruption, advised. Luvia and Mayu were the same. In fact, Mayu showed signs of retreating, let alone Ilya, who was just an ordinary person not long ago. Blackie, calm down. Wuming placed his hand on Blackie's shoulder. It had to be said that Wuming, who was the closest to Blackie, wasn't affected at all. Although he was still angry, Blackie didn't want to disappoint his big brother's trust in him, so he tried his best to retract his magic power. Wuming believed that Blackie wouldn't casually use his magic power to deal with Ilya, so he removed Enkidu. Blackie didn't want to disappoint Wuming. Blackie shifted his position angrily and leaned closer to Wuming. At the same time, he turned his head to the side and stopped looking at Ilya. Wuming smiled and patted Blackie's head, indicating that Blackie didn't let him down. Blackie puffed out his chest proudly. Then Wuming looked at Ilya. Ilya, although I know that you didn't mean to say what you just said, do you know what it means? Looking at the serious Wuming, Ilya didn't know what to do. You want to return to your previous life because you realize that the world of magicians is abnormally chaotic. But this also means that you want to deny our relationship because you only knew us after entering the world of magicians. To Xiaohei, you are denying her existence. Rin Enbin and Luvia nodded in agreement with Wuming's words. Only Meiyu didn't express anything, quietly listening to Wuming's speech. Wuming's words stunned Ilya, but she immediately reacted. No, big brother, sister Meiyu Lin, sister Luvia, I didn't mean that. Ilya looked as if she was about to cry and looked at Xiaohei pleadingly. I'm sorry Xiaohei, that's what I meant. Then Ilya really started crying. I know that I'm very clumsy. I like to sleep in the morning and often can't get up. I'm also not proficient in cooking and often act rashly. Most of the time I'm not frank. Ilya practically revealed all of her shortcomings. But I really don't mean to deny you. So please stay. I'll do my best to live with you. Please. In the end, Ilya directly bowed 90 degrees and faced Xiaohei. After all, you can't expect a primary school student to think so much. Ilya was purely reminiscing about the past and didn't mean to deny Wuming and the others, nor did she mean to deny Xiaohei. Wuming helped Ilya up, wiped her tears and looked at Ilya with some heartache. Alright Ilya, we're not saying that you've made a mistake or anything. I just want you to understand that even though there are many times in life where you wish to return to the past or start over due to regret or other reasons, in this life that you've already lived and started, there are still many benefits that outweigh the disadvantages. You've met Lin, Luvia, Meiyu and me. Even the sealed Xiaohei has obtained freedom. At that point, Wuming turned to look at Xiaohei who was looking at Ilya with some worry. Xiaohei who was discovered instantly blushed and turned her head away again. Wuming smiled and continued to speak to Ilya. During this period of time, you've indeed encountered many dangers, some of which even threatened your life. But the gains during this period of time aren't something that others can give you. In the end, Wuming cupped Ilya's beautiful face and looked at her slightly swollen eyes. Wuming said an extremely important sentence. This is the treasure of a lifetime. You have to remember to cherish it. I understand, big brother. I won't say such words again. I will cherish it. Seeing that Ilya had stopped crying, Wuming turned to Xiaohei. So, Xiaohei, what do you think? Facing such a situation, Xiaohei couldn't say anything. Just like that, Wuming specially prepared a sumptuous dinner for Xiaohei. This time, everyone didn't play until the middle of the night like last time, but I want to live with big brother. Xiaohei hugged Wuming's arm with a smile, unwilling to let go. Wait, girls can't be so unreserved. Hurry up and let go of me. Ilya held Xiaohei's hand with a slightly red face and a rather embarrassed and angry expression. Ilya, you're too much. I can't live in Ilya's house. Don't tell me Ilya wants me to sleep on a park bench? That's too much, Ilya. Xiaohei's words stunned Ilya. Fortunately, Ilya was quick-witted and quickly spoke. Then you can also live in big sister Luvia's house. Why must you live in big brother's house? Ilya said with embarrassment and anger. It's fine if it's me. Luvia expressed that she didn't care. But I need to replenish my mana. Luvia's mana isn't enough for me. I'm an existence that relies on the archer class card. Only Big Brother's mana can maintain my existence. If I don't have mana and Big Brother isn't by my side, I might die. Ilya is really cruel. Is it that serious? Ilya was a little flustered. Of course, Xiaohei's claim that only Wuming's mana could provide Xiaohei with mana was wrong. In fact, with Xiaohei's current mana, as long as she didn't use her mana in battle, it wouldn't be a problem to maintain her existence for a few days. But right now, Xiaohei was indeed at a critical point. In addition to the mana explosion just now, if she were to fight again, she might directly disappear. Most importantly, Wuming said that Xiaohei was his younger sister, so it wasn't a big deal for his younger sister to live with him. Alright, let Xiaohei stay. She is indeed lacking in mana now. Wuming spoke up for Xiaohei. Okay, but Xiaohei, you can't mess around with Big Brother. Ilya was still a little worried. Although they had just met, Ilya could already feel Xiaohei's mischievousness. That will depend on my mood. Ah, what a sly answer. Amid the noise, the Shuoyu residence returned to its happy time. Chapter 255. The next morning, Wuming took Little Black and Meiyu from the Shuoyu residence to the Suigun Garden Academy. At this moment, Little Black, like Meiyu, was wearing the uniform of the Swagun Garden Academy Primary School. This was Wuming's decision to let Little Black go to school. After all, Little Black could be very envious of Ilya's daily life. Wuming had long noticed this. As for the enrollment procedures, Wuming said that he knew some people in Winterwood City. Ahem, of course, Wuming's methods were all formal methods. Yes, that's right. Humph, 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 humph. Little Black held Wuming's hand and hummed happily. Are you that happy, Little Black? Wuming asked. It's okay. I used to watch Ilya go to school in the third person. Now that I can experience it myself, it's inevitable that I'm a little excited. Then have a good experience of school life, Wuming said with a smile. Yes, yes. I will cherish it, big brother, Little Black replied. At this moment, Wuming noticed that Mayu, who was holding his other hand, was a little absent-minded. What's wrong, Mayu? Wuming asked with concern. It's nothing, brother Wuming. Mayu shook her head. Wuming smiled. You don't look fine at all. However, even if Mayu didn't say it, Wuming could more or less guess. It was nothing more than Little Black and Ilya's identity as the Holy Grail that touched Mayu. I will protect you. Whether it's you, Little Black, or Ilya, I have the strength to protect you now. Wuming let go of Mayu's hand and patted Mayu's head. Oh, Mayu is so cunning. Big brother, I want it too. Little Black shook Wuming's hand and said coquettishly. Yes, yes, Wuming smiled helplessly, let go of Little Black's hand and patted Little Black's head. At this moment, Wuming found that the three had already arrived at school. Then Mayu, Little Black, see you in the afternoon. Wuming waved at the two. Yes, brother Wuming, big brother, goodbye. After Wuming left, he took out his phone and made a phone call. Yes, yes, this is Einsteinberg, a lively female voice came from the other end of the phone. This is Wuming. Soon Wuming made the call. Wuming returned to Shuo Yu's house, opened Dragonist, and took out some precious items that Wuming collected over the years. The reason why Wuming did that was because Wuming was going to make an item in his magic workshop. Last night, Wuming transferred a lot of magical power to Little Black by entering Magician's avatar, and also cast a blessing on Little Black. However, no matter how long the blessing was, there was a time limit. After all, Little Black was still a servant, and it was a special kind of servant that consumed magical power all the time. Although Wuming and Little Black could sign a contract, and Little Black's magical power was provided by Wuming, Wuming thought of a way to solve the problem. That was to make an item that could automatically generate magical power, turn it into an organ similar to a magic circuit, and implant it into Little Black's body. In this way, Little Black would naturally be free. It took almost 2 or 3 hours. Wuming had a stone full of Lune runes in his hand. Fortunately, this body is a caster, magician, class, and it has the skill item creation, and I have your help, Kalas. Otherwise, it will take me a few days to complete this item. At this time, Kalas turned into a dragon horn crown with wings and floated beside Wuming. No, master, with your wisdom, even without me, you can complete it in a short time. Aha, you think too highly of me, Kelly. I do have wisdom, but compared to you, I'm still far behind. The magic attire made by Zelik should not be underestimated. Ruby and Sapphire could instantly turn an elementary school student into a magical girl who could easily suppress a first-class magician, which was enough to show the power of the magic attire made by Zelik. As a magic attire made by Zelik for Wuming, Kalas's value was even higher than Ruby and Sapphire. After all, Ruby and Sapphire were used for battle, and Kelly was a special accessory. Moreover, Kelly had evolved into a silent noble phantasm, so she was no longer in the category of accessories. Seriously speaking, Kelly could now be considered as an elf. There's still some time before Ilya and the others finish school, just enough time to prepare for the parallel world. The parallel world that Wuming mentioned was naturally Julian and the black mud born from the root. Wuming came to the door of the room in the center of the Shuo Yu mansion. This room was just an ordinary bedroom, but Wuming stretched out his hand and muttered something. Then the door of the room opened automatically, revealing a futuristic-looking control room. However, the color of the control room was stone-colored, as if it was some ancient technology. This was a place that even Mayu didn't know about. Wuming used spatial technology to superimpose a layer of space on the foundation of the original room. This layer of space was used as the control room of the Shuo Yu mansion. A magician's magic workshop generally had various traps that increased the owner's attack power and weakened the enemy. As Wuming's magic workshop, the Shuo Yu mansion was naturally not ordinary. As early as when Wuming built this magic workshop, Wuming began to build this control room. Wuming was not the kind of person who would not fight back after being beaten. Wu-ming set up this magic workshop for offense, not defense. There was a large platform in the center of the control room, and at the edge of the control room were unknown instruments. The upper limit was clearly engraved with lines. Inside the control room, Wu-ming took out the staff of Ain's Ol On and the nameless spellbook. Wu-ming placed the staff of Ain's Ol On in a long transparent cylinder, and the staff of Ain's Ol On floated up. The nameless spellbook was placed by Wu-ming in a groove of a control panel. Then Wu-ming sat on a platform in the center of the control room. This platform was similar to a sacrificial altar, and Wu-ming designed it to control the entire magic workshop with thought. After Wu-ming sat on the platform, he connected a line to his wrist, and a large amount of magic was transmitted to the control room. The whole control room began to operate on its own as if it had come over. The 7 gems on the staff of Ain's oral gown began to light up, and the entire staff began to glow with a myriad of colors. The nameless spellbook turned pages automatically, and countless words emerged from it and were absorbed by the lines on the control panel. Wu-ming used the staff of Ain's Ol On as a key to store the countless high-level spells in the nameless spellbook into the Xianxia mansion, turning it into a cannon that could release countless high-level spells. Most of the magic transmitted was stored. After all, it was impossible to release countless high-level spells without the support of magic. This mobile cannon would become terrifying under the control of Wu-ming in the future. Chapter 256. In the beginning, Wu-ming also wanted to equip the Xianxia residence with an engine with infinite magic power, which could provide infinite magic power for the casting of magic. However, Wu-ming really could not make a device that could instantly extract and provide almost infinite magic power. The reason why he could make the so-called infinite magic power device for Little Black was only because the device would restore magic power to Little Black bit by bit. Simply put, it was the same as an ordinary magic circuit, storing magic power and slowly and automatically recovering it. The magic power supply device needed by the Xianxia residents needed to extract unimaginable magic power in an instant. If it was a device that slowly and automatically recovered magic power, the Xianxia residence was naturally equipped with it. However, there was no magic power device that could instantly produce unimaginable magic power. It was like a faucet. The size of the faucet and the pipe related to the amount of water produced. If it was a very thin pipe and a very small faucet, then the amount of water produced would be pitifully small. If it was a large pipe that was a few meters thick and a large faucet with a diameter that was also a few meters, the amount of water produced would definitely be much more. In Wu-ming's current view, the so-called magic power perpetual motion machine that could provide infinite magic power was only Wu-ming himself. As the root dragon, Wu-ming's magic power could be said to be infinite. The reason for this was that Wu-ming's magic power was really too much. Magic power recovery was far greater than magic power use, so Wu-ming had never worried about magic power issues. In short, Wu-ming could not make a device that provided infinite magic power. Therefore, Wu-ming came here whenever he was free and constantly stored magic power in the Xianxia residence's magic power warehouse. With the staff of Ain's Olgown as the key, the nameless spellbook as the attack text, and Wu-ming's infinite magic power as the driving force, this constructed a mobile high-firepower, infinite magic power turret. It was almost time for the elementary school of the Sui Kun Garden Academy to be dismissed. Wu-ming stopped the infusion of magic power, removed the wires on his arm, walked down the altar and left the room. Wu-ming kept the brilliance of Ain's Oalgo and the nameless spellbook. Previously, Wu-ming had always been here, but when Wu-ming left, he took the 2 treasures away. The scene changed and Wu-ming drove to the entrance of Sui Kun Yuan Primary School. After a few minutes, the school bell rang. Looking at the children coming out one after another, Wu-ming began to miss them. At this time, Wu-ming saw Ilya and the others come out. However, the situation was not looking good. Ilya looked at Little Black angrily, while Little Black had a happy smile on his face. Mayu sighed helplessly at the side. Needless to say, Xiaohei must have provoked Ilya on purpose. Although Wu-ming and Blackie had only been together for a few days, Wu-ming understood Blackie's mischievous nature very well. Wu-ming helplessly shook his head. Wu-ming opened the door, got out of the car and walked towards Ilya and the others. From afar, Blackie discovered Wu-ming. "Big brother." Blackie waved his small hand and ran towards Wu-ming. "Ah, it's Big Brother Blackie, don't run." Ilya also discovered Wu-ming, but after seeing Blackie run away, she immediately chased after him. "Really?" Mayu helplessly smiled and then ran after him. "Big Brother Blackie missed you so much. Blackie can't wait to replenish his mana. Let's start now." Blackie hugged Wu-ming and rubbed against Wu-ming's chest. Then he said something that made Ilya furious. No, no, no. Blackie, how can you be so unrestrained? Even if you want to replenish your mana, you can't do it on the streets. Ilya's face was flushed red. She instantly pounced on Wuming and stopped Blackie. Oh, brother Wuming. Mayu ran over. She did not even have time to catch her breath. Yo Mayu. Wuming greeted Mayu. Then Wuming pulled Blackie and Ilya, who were lying on his body, away and squatted down. Alright, it's time to go home. I drove here today. Blackie was excited again. Then, I want to sit in the front passenger seat. Blackie raised his small hand and said excitedly. Damn it, Blackie is so cunning. I want to sit in the front passenger seat too. Ilya fought for him. I said it first. I want to sit in the front passenger seat. I don't want to. Wuming smiled helplessly. Then he pulled Mayu's hand. Mayu will sit in the front passenger seat today. Huh? Mayu was shocked. Why is it like this? Ilya said with some regret. As expected, Mayu is the difficulty in getting Big Brother, Blackie said helplessly. Get me? What are you guys up to now? Wuming pretended to be serious as he looked at Ilya and Blackie. It's fine, it's fine. Let's go, Big Brother. That's right. It's better to go home quickly. Blackie and Ilya echoed each other. Wuming flicked Blackie and Ilya's foreheads. Ignoring Blackie and Ilya's screams, Wuming pulled Mayu toward the car. On the road, Wuming sat in the driver's seat and drove the car steadily. Mayu sat in the front passenger seat with a calm expression. Xiaohei and Ilya, on the other hand, sat obediently in the back row, looking like obedient girls. Later, Ilya will stay at my house and accompany Mayu. I need to do something with Blackie later. I've already spoken to Sarah for you. Huh? So sudden? I understand. Although Ilya was somewhat puzzled, she still nodded obediently. Mayu, I've already prepared the meal. I've already used magic to keep it warm. You and Ilya can eat directly after you go back. There's no need to wait for us, Wuming said to Mayu without turning his head. I understand, brother Wuming. Mayu nodded her little head. Big brother, what are you bringing me to do? It can't be something embarrassing, right? Blackie pretended to be shy as she touched her face. How could it be? Big brother isn't that kind of person. Also, don't do these shameful actions again. Ilya blushed again because of Little Black. I won't. Soon, accompanied by Ilya's helpless screams and Black's smug laughter, Wuming drove to the Xuanhu residence. Then we'll be leaving first, Wuming said to Mayu and Ilya, who got out of the car. Okay. Goodbye, brother Wuming. Big brother, be careful on the road. Wuming waved his hand and started the car. Then where are you bringing me, big brother? Blackie sat in the front passenger seat and became serious. To see someone who's rather special to you, Blackie. Chapter 257. Wuming brought Little Black to a small park near the school. At this moment it was evening. For some reason there was almost no one around. Wuming got out of the car and held Little Black's hand. Is the important person Big Brother mentioned here? Little Black looked up with a puzzled expression. However, Wuming did not answer Little Black's question. After walking a few steps, Wuming stopped. At the same time, Little Black, who was being held, also stopped. We're here. Little Black looked ahead. A noble lady with long snow-white hair was standing under the setting sun, waiting quietly. Just like when she saw Wuming and Little Black, the noble lady looked over and smiled. Liar, liar. Why are you here? Mother. That's right. Standing in the small park and waiting quietly was Little Black's mother, also Ilya's mother, Alice Phil von Erzburen. It's Mother Ilya. No, it's Chloe-chan. Alice Field greeted Xiaohei with a smile. Blackie was at a loss of what to do. It was as if its legs were rooted to the ground and could not move. Why is Mother here? Little Black was at a loss as he spoke. It's because Mr. Wuming called me. Only then did I know that so many things had happened to my daughter, Alice Phil said as she walked toward Wuming and Little Black step by step. Big brother. Little Black looked at Wuming with a wronged expression. Wuming patted Little Black's head, then gave Little Black's hand to him. After all, your real home is not here, Little Black. Also, you've always wanted to see your mother. Big brother, Wuming looked at Little Black with an encouraging gaze. Then, Little Black nodded silently and looked at Alice Phil, who was walking over. Wuming left the small park and returned to the car, giving the mother and daughter some space. Through the car window, Wuming looked at Little Black, who had begun to cry, and Alice Phil, who was comforting Little Black and wiping her tears. As early as noon, Wu-ming had set up a spell to disperse idle people here. Therefore, Wu-ming was not worried that someone would barge in and ruin the atmosphere between Little Black and Alice Phil. At noon, Wu-ming found Alice Phil's phone number from the information he asked from Zelik and called her. Then Wu-ming told Alice Field about what had happened to Ilya during this time. Although Alice Field expressed that she was surprised, Wu-ming didn't believe that Alice Field didn't know about his daughter's situation during this time. As early as 10 years ago, the House of Einstein Baron's family had disappeared. That was what he told Wu-ming. The House of Einstein Baron's family has disappeared. Wu-ming could more or less guess. It was nothing more than being eliminated by her parents who wanted to protect Ilya through some means. The seal of the Holy Grail War was probably also facilitated by Ilya's parents. Wu-ming expressed that he wanted Little Black to meet Alice Phil, and Alice Phil readily agreed. As a result, the previous scene appeared. Little Black seemed to be relieved and gave up the idea of getting rid of Ilya, but that was only because Wu-ming was here. From the moment Little Black was born, her meaning was denied. Until now, the reason why Little Black wanted to kill Ilya was because Little Black was unwilling. Why can she have a family but I can't? Why can she have friends but I can't? Why can she have the right to enjoy daily life but I can't? Why can she be loved by Big Brother but I can't? This was Little Black's unwillingness. Now Little Black already had family, friends, daily life and even Wu-ming's love. However, maternal love was the only thing that Wu-ming couldn't give, and maternal love was what Little Black lacked the most. Through the car window, Wu-ming saw that Little Black had already thrown herself into Alice Phil's arms and was crying. Alice Phil patted Little Black's back. It seemed that Little Black and Alice Phil had reconciled. Now, the breath that Little Black held in her heart had been released. Looking at the mother and daughter hugging each other, Wu-ming couldn't help but think of Meiyu. Wu-ming took out his phone and dialed Meiyu's number. "Brother Wu-ming?" Meiyu's puzzled voice came from the other end of the phone. Wu-ming vaguely heard Ilya's voice asking, "Is that Big Brother?" "Meiyu, No, it's fine. Let's go see the sea this weekend, just the two of us." There was a rush of breathing from the other end of the phone. Then, a joyful voice came from the other end of the phone. At night, Wu-ming drove back to the Xuanhuan residence alone. Little Black, who was relieved with Alice Phil, had already gone home with Alice Phil. This was also the reason why Wu-ming let Ilya stay in his house. Let Little Black enjoy maternal love alone tonight. After getting out of the car, Wu-ming pushed open the door of the Xuanhuan residence and walked in. As soon as Wu-ming entered, he saw Meiyu sitting alone on the side edge looking at the moon. "Meiyu, why aren't you sleeping yet?" Wu-ming walked to the side edge and sat beside Meiyu. "I want to sleep with Brother Wu-ming tonight," Meiyu said with a slightly red face. In response, Wu-ming smiled and patted Meiyu's head. "Then let's do it together." Meiyu smiled. Her smile was very beautiful. Now, the depression in Meiyu's heart for the past few days was also vented. The next day, at the entrance of the primary school of the Sway Garden Academy. Hey. Ilya's surprised voice came. Wu-ming held Meiyu and Ilya's hand. Opposite him was Alice Phil and Little Black, who was holding Alice Phil's hand. At this moment, Little Black's face was filled with a smug smile as she looked at Ilya. "Long time no see, Ilya-chan," Alice Phil greeted Ilya happily. "Mom? Why is Mom here? When did you come back? Also, why was Little Black sent to school by Mom?" Ilya said with some jealousy. "That's because I'm Mom's real daughter. Ilya is just a little girl that everyone dotes on." Little Black began to tease Ilya again. "I still have Big Brother. Big Brother came to send me off today," Ilya said, unwilling to admit defeat. "Oh, is that so? Isn't Big Brother sending Meiyu off and also sending you off?" Little Black narrowed her eyes and looked at Ilya. This was Meiyu who was innocently dragged into this. No way, Little Black is an idiot. Accompanied by the noise, the three entered the school together. "Thank you very much, Mr. Wu-ming." Alice Phil bowed to Wu-ming to express her gratitude. Wu-ming waved his hand. "Madam, you don't have to do this. Whether it's Little Black or Ilya, they are the same as Meiyu. They are all my sisters. This is what I should do. Also, even if I call you, you will come back, right?" Then Wu-ming turned and left. "You're right, Mr. Xuanhuan. I'll be counting on you from now on." Wu-ming stretched out a hand and waved without saying anything. Chapter 258. After a few days, Rin and Osaka and Luvia confirmed that Little Black was harmless, and Rin and Osaka resumed his inspection of the ley line. After all, his initial goal was to infuse mana into the ley line to detect any abnormalities. After infusing mana, Wuming's return and the backlash from the leyline's mana caused Little Black to appear. Now was the time to solve the leyline problem. Rin and Osaka found Wuming and wanted him to accompany him. How should I put it? After all, you're the most capable one among us. It's safer with you around. These were Rin and Osaka's exact words. Wuming wasn't too interested in this, but if there was a problem with the ley line, he would have to spend money, and Winterwood City wouldn't have it easy. Therefore, Wuming followed Rin and Osaka to the big hole in Yuzong Mountain. Fortunately, the previous collapse only buried the entrance, and the interior wasn't too damaged. After clearing the entrance, Wuming and Rin and Osaka entered the big hole without much trouble. After choosing the location, Rin and Osaka set up a series of instruments and began to inspect the ley line. After chanting a series of incantations, Rin Enbin tossed a burning gem onto a piece of parchment that was placed on a rack. In an instant, the parchment began to burn in a regular pattern from where the gemstone had fallen. A strange map appeared. It was a plain map of Winterwood City's ley line. What? Rin and Osaka said in disbelief. Wuming walked over to take a look and found that on the thickest ley line, there was a small square flaw. Is that the mirror realm? Wuming said uncertainly. Yes, without a doubt, this is the mirror realm of the class card. Rin and Osaka said solemnly. The 9th class card? Wuming said thoughtfully. Logically speaking, that class card shouldn't exist. Shiro Amiya from Meiyo's world used 7 class cards to send Meiyu to this world. Including Wuming, there were a total of 8 class cards. From what Wuming knew, there were 9 class cards created by Ainsworth. King Arthur's Saber, Cuculin's Lancer, Hero King's Archer, Medusa's Rider, Demetrius's Caster, Hassan's Assassin, and Hercules and Lancelot's Berserker. Lancelot's card had always been kept by Sakura Madu. At that time, Sakura thought that the card given by Julian was Gilgamesh's card, so she didn't have time to use Lancelot's card before Shinji Madu knocked her unconscious. Shiro Amiya's card was originally a useless one. Because of an accident, it connected to the future heroic spirit on the heroic spirit throne, which was the heroic spirit that Shiro Amiya transformed into in a parallel world. The Holy Grail ritual only required 7 class cards, and Wuming himself was considered a stowaway. Therefore, Wuming really couldn't figure out why there was another class card. Well, with you as an extra caster class card, I'm almost used to having a few more class cards. Rin and Osaka said somewhat dispiritedly. Do you hate the trouble? Wuming said rather helplessly. Wuming could naturally see that the reason why Rin and Osaka was so dispirited was naturally because there was one more class card that needed to be recycled. That's for sure. Let's not talk about the Great Master's request for us to analyze the class cards. Even I don't have much confidence in this additional 9th card. Wuming also had a dignified look on his face. Rin and Osaka was right. This class card must have appeared around the time when other class cards appeared. So, after a month, this card had absorbed a lot of mana from the ley line, and its own strength was almost comparable to a real servant. If this class card was a first-class card, then it was likely to have evolved to the strength of a first-class servant. If Wuming's original body was here, Wuming naturally didn't need to be afraid. However, the current Wuming was just a clone of Wuming's original body that was projected in this world after the root fell asleep. Naturally, his strength was greatly weakened. As for the recycling of this class card, leave it to me. I don't need the help of you, including Ilya and the others. Rin and Osaka struggled a few times and then he was relieved. That's right. Even the recycling of the previous class cards required your help. This time, even if we participate, I'm afraid we will only be a burden. Wuming smiled and then comforted Rin and Osaka. Don't be so pessimistic. I still know a little about the analysis of class cards and I should be able to help you. Although Wuming could directly use his skills to create class cards, the class cards that he created had a time limit, and it must be a class card that had been analyzed before. Because of this, Wuming knew a little about the structure of class cards. It had to be said that Julian was really a rare genius in 100 years or even 1,000 years. He modified the most basic replacement magic and made it extremely powerful. Even the power of heroic spirits could be replaced. Unfortunately, Julian was almost completely corroded by the black mud. Now there was no hope for him. Really? You really know the structure of class cards? Rin and Osaka's eyes lit up as if he wanted to devour Wuming. He stared at Wuming covetously. I know a little. After the recycling of the last class card, I will help you analyze it. Wuming waved his hand to calm Rin and Osaka down. Hehehe. Actually, you only need to help me analyze it. You don't have to care about Luvia. Rin and Osaka had a fawning expression. Let's talk about this later. Let's go back and tell Ilya and the others about the class cards problem and prepare for the recycling. As he spoke, Wuming began to walk toward the entrance of the big hole. I still think it's better not to tell Ilya and the others. With their personality, they definitely won't let you take the risk alone. Rin and Osaka followed behind Wuming and expressed his opinion. Wuming shook his head. Although that's the case, don't forget that with their observational skills, they'll definitely notice something abnormal. Ignoring Ilya for now, Mayu is my younger sister. She's been with me for 5 years. She'll definitely notice anything that I do. Now that you mention it, it does seem to be the case. Rin and Osaka nodded. Then Rin and Osaka asked again. Right, the class cards mirror world is deep underground. How are you going to go down? Do you need my and Luvia's help? I'm going to use brute force. Brute force? Rin and Osaka was confused. Yes, we will use high-density magic to dig underground until we reach the mirror world. Rin and Osaka was speechless. Leave the opening of the tunnel to us. Rin and Osaka wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. As expected, heroic spirits were a bunch of weird existences. Chapter 259. Wuming and Rin Enbin went their separate ways. Wuming returned to the Shuayu residence while Rin Enbin went to Livia's house to discuss the matter. As for Blackie, because he had a heart-to-heart talk with his mother, Alice Field, a few days ago, he moved out of Wuming's house and returned to his own home. Although Ilya still looked unhappy, anyone could tell that she was very happy. Wuming returned to the Shuayu residence. As soon as he entered the house, he saw Mayu looking at some photos with great interest. They were photos taken a few days ago when Wuming and Mayu went to the beach together. They were basically photos of Wuming and Mayu. As for who took the photos, it was naturally Kalas. You've been looking at them for a few days. Haven't you seen enough? Wuming realized that Mayu did not notice Wuming and hugged Mayu from behind. Mayu let out a cute cry. It's brother Wuming. Don't scare me. Mayu blushed and looked at Wuming with some resentment. Sama was too engrossed in the photos and didn't notice Sama's arrival. Sapphire explained. Wuming let go of Mayu and sat beside Mayu. He patted Mayu's head. Don't be too attached to these photos. This kind of life will continue. I will also often look at the sea with you. So, you must always let me see Mayu's smile. I know, brother Wuming. Mayu smiled and enjoyed Wuming's patting. Suddenly Wuming's phone rang. Wuming picked up the phone and heard Rin Enbin's voice. There's an enemy attack. Something happened to Luvia. What's wrong, brother Wuming? Mayu looked at the serious Wuming and asked. Something happened to Luvia's house. Something happened? Moving forward in the timeline, Rin Enbin, who had parted ways with Wuming, arrived at Luvia's house and instantly realized that something was wrong. Luvia's house was set up with a barrier. As long as one was outside the barrier, no matter how one looked, the interior would not change. As a first-rate magician, Rin Enbin was naturally able to detect a trace of mana emanating from the barrier at such a close distance. He pushed the door open and walked in. A series of explosions and sounds of fighting came out of the mansion. Damn, there really is an enemy attack. Then Rin Enbin took out his phone and called Wu Ming. There's an enemy attack. Something happened to Luvia. With that, Rin and Osaka hung up the phone and rushed into the house. As soon as he entered the house, Rin Enbin noticed that the battle was happening in the living room. Therefore, Rin Enbin entered the mansion through another small door. Then Rin Enbin came to the living room and saw the battle through the side door. Luvia was standing in a corner, looking at a purple-haired tomboy with a serious expression. The tomboy was fighting with a white-haired, white-bearded, and bespectacled old man wearing a steward's uniform. Wuming had seen this old man before. He was Luvia's steward, Ogiest. The tomboy was Bizet, who wanted to take back Wuming's rank card. Damn, why did it have to be this guy? If it wasn't for Wuming, I don't think all of us could beat her. Rin Enbin said in frustration. He then took out a few gems and threw them at Bizet's back. In an instant, a large explosion occurred. Although they couldn't beat Bizet even if they worked together, Rin Enbin didn't want to beat Bizet. After all, Rin Enbin had already notified Wuming. As long as we can delay until Wuming arrives, it'll be our victory. With this thought in mind, Rin Enbin tossed a few more gems into the smoke of the explosion. Another explosion occurred. Rin Enbin. Why did you come out? Looking at Rin Enbin, who appeared to attack Bazet, Luvia said with some annoyance. I've already notified Wuming. They'll be here soon. Rin Enbin took out a few more gems and prepared to shoot them at Bizet. Wuming? You guys are quite confident in this person. Although I don't know who this person is and I don't know if he has the ability to defeat me, you don't have to worry about that because... Bazet's voice pierced through the smoke. Bazet waved his hand and a gust of wind blew the smoke away. I can defeat all of you before he arrives. Tiske. Looks like he's going to use his true strength. Be careful, Luvia. Rin Enbin said with a frown. Of course I know. You better take care of yourself. Rin Enbin. Luvia also had a serious expression on her face. However, she didn't forget to bicker with Rin Tozaka during the battle. This wasn't something to be praised. Immediately after, Luvia, Ogiest, and Rin Enbin surrounded Bazet and started a 3 versus 1 battle, but they were suppressed instead. Wuming opened the teleportation door and brought Mayu and Sapphire to Luvia's house. Coincidentally, Ilya, Blackie, and Ruby also arrived at Luvia's house. Ilya, Blackie, did you guys also receive a call from Sister Rin? Mayu asked when she saw her friends. Ilya and Blackie shook their heads. We just heard an explosion in Sister Luvia's house, so Ruby, Blackie, and I came out. Did Big Brother and Mayu get called over by Sister Rin? Ilya answered Mayu's doubts and asked a question while she was at it. Well, Sister Rin just called Brother Wuming saying that there are enemies attacking. Luvia and Brother Wuming directly used Brother Wuming's magic teleportation door to bring Sapphire and me here. Mayu said with some fear. Because Mayu had never experienced a teleportation door, so when Mayu entered the teleportation door, she felt a bit uncomfortable with the teleportation door's black hole. Let's go in quickly. Wuming was a bit worried about Rin Enbin and Luvia's safety. Enemies that could make Rin Enbin send out a distress signal, whether the two of them could hold on was another matter. Ilya and the others also nodded. Then Wuming pushed open the big iron door and walked in. The glass on the lower floor was completely shattered, and it looked like a villa that had been attacked by terrorists. Boom! A terrifying loud sound came from the villa. Fear the one with wings. Evil people and powerful people are all afraid of me who have wings. My wings will bring you a curse. Evil people can't hit me. Wuming chanted the words of the Phoenix incarnation. Following a burst of illusory body, the afterimage left behind on the spot gradually disappeared. Wuming disappeared in front of Ilya and the others. This was a phenomenon of excessive speed. Ilya, Mayu, Blackie, I'll go in first. The 3 of you be careful. At this time Wuming's voice came from the void. So fast. This was what the 3 of them were thinking. Chapter 260. Wuming activated lightning speed and instantly arrived at the villa's living room. As soon as he entered the hall, what entered Wuming's eyes was a dilapidated scene. Luvia's butler, Ogiest, was knocked unconscious and leaned against a sunken wall. Luvia was held by the neck by Bazet and hung up. Rin Enosaka was lying on the ground, but from the expression on his face, it could be seen that Rin Enosaka had been trying to stand up. Seeing Wuming came, Rin Enosaka simply gave up the idea of standing up. Really, you finally came, we almost couldn't hold on. Rin Enosaka was lying face down on the ground, his voice was muffled. What do you mean almost couldn't hold on? We couldn't hold on. It's all your fault, Rin Enosaka. Why did you come out so early? Maybe we could have held on a little longer. Luvia was held by the neck and weakly complained. Seeing you guys so energetic, I really don't know why I rushed here. Seeing Rin Enosaka and Luvia still so energetic, Wuming waved his hand with a slight smile. Then Wuming looked at Bazet rather seriously. So, Bazet, you can let go now. Bazet immediately let go of Luvia and faced Wuming in a serious posture. Ever since Wuming's arrival, Bazet's entire body tensed up. After Wuming saw that the enemy was Bazet, he could almost guess what was going on. It was nothing more than some small tricks from the clock tower's higher-ups. For these higher-ups, Wuming decided to go back and have a chat with them. Didn't they like heroic spirits and servants? Wuming will let them like it. For Bazet, the enemy in front of him was the Wuming that Rin Enosaka and Luvia spoke of. Although he didn't know why this servant appeared here, and he didn't know why it had such a good relationship with Rin Enbin and the others, it didn't prevent Bazet from knowing that Wuming was an enemy. However, to Wuming there was nothing to fear from Bazet. As long as Bazet was not allowed to use the backlight sword, he would not be a threat to Wuming at all. Wuming wasn't a sure kill method, but he had plenty of methods. No matter how bad it was, he could still use force to subdue Bazet. I almost forgot that I didn't tell you my name. For you, the name Wuming might not be enough for you to remember. Wuming looked at the unusually vigilant Bazet and smiled. Just as he was about to introduce himself, Bazet interrupted him. The great sage who taught the most ancient king, the Uruk Hyunryong. Bizet's eyes shone. Wuming was a little surprised. I didn't expect that after a short period of contact, you could actually guess my real name. This is worthy of praise, but... Wuming's magical power suddenly erupted, and the originally broken floor directly turned into powder. A large number of Lune runes quickly wrapped around Wuming's body. This was Wuming using Lune runes to strengthen himself. His master, Xianxia, often did this because it was more convenient. Bizet, who had a little knowledge of Lune runes, understood the meaning of these runes at a glance. All of them are power? Yes, Wuming used a large number of Lune runes that represented power to strengthen himself. For Bizet, who also used Lune runes to strengthen his hands, after a large number of Lune runes enhancement, Wuming's physical strength had reached an incredible level. For ordinary people, as long as they were touched, their body would instantly shatter. If it was a magician, although it's not as good as the giant incarnation, but I'll be gentle. If you are hit, your life or death is up to fate. Wuming finished and disappeared. In a flash, Wuming, who had not yet exited from the lightning speed state, instantly appeared behind Bizet. What? Bizet gritted his teeth and frowned. With such a fast speed, even she could only catch a trace of shadow. She only saw Wuming lightly throwing a punch, and the fist fell on Bizet's body. Bang! Bizet was heavily hit by Wuming and was directly hit out of the hall by Wuming. With Wuming as the center, the entire floor was completely shattered. Even Luvia's villa began to shake. The impact of Wuming's fist broke the supporting structure of Luvia's villa. If it wasn't for the magic protection of Luvia's house and Wuming's deliberate mercy, Luvia's villa would have collapsed. Wuming put the Phoenix incarnation and the enhanced strength Lune runes in contact, and then picked up 3 stones from the ground. Wuming's hand gently touched the stones, and 3 Lune runes full of vitality were engraved on the stones. Wuming threw 2 stones to Luvia, who was weak but could still stand. Luvia hurriedly caught the stones and looked at Wuming in confusion. These are the Lune runes that represent life. You can use them by injecting magic into them. You can use one first and the other one is for Ogiest. Thank you, Wuming, Luvia said sincerely. Wuming was a little surprised. I didn't expect Miss to have such a frank side. After all, Luvia could be very arrogant. It was difficult for her to say a word of thanks. The people of the Eiderfeld family naturally repay kindness. As the next head of the Eiderfeld family, I naturally can't disgrace the family. Luvia instantly became arrogant again. After thanking him, Luvia walked toward Ogiest. Ogiest had been in close combat with Bazet, so he had suffered a lot of damage. Compared to Luvia, who could still move, Ogiest, who had fainted, undoubtedly needed it the most. Wuming didn't care about her and walked toward Rin Enbin. You finally came. I can only say that you're worthy of being called you. You can even subdue a monster that can fight a servant. Although Rin Enbin said weakly, Wuming could sense that although Rin Enbin's body was seriously injured, his magic was still sufficient. His inability to stand was only caused by physical injuries. You heard what I said to Luvia just now. Hurry up and use it. Wuming said as he handed the stone engraved with Lune runes to Rin Enbin. I got it. You should go take a look at Bizet first. That guy is known as a monster. Maybe he's still alive and kicking. Although Wuming deliberately showed mercy, Wuming's punch was not that easy to take. Wuming estimated that Bizet might be paralyzed on the ground now. Yes, I know, Miss Rin. However, because of Rin Enbin's eagerness, Wuming prepared to go and see. Chapter 261. Wuming walked out of the hole in the wall that was created when he hit Bizet. After coming out, Wuming saw Ilya and Little Black, who had transformed. One was squatting on the ground looking at Bizet, and the other was looking around vigilantly with Mayu, who had also transformed. After all, they didn't know if there were other enemies around. Bizet was lying on the cracked and sunken ground, constantly struggling to stand up. Wuming said whether he could survive or not just to scare Bizet. Wuming controlled his strength very well. He just broke Bizet's spine and other parts of Bizet's arm and leg bones, but he didn't kill Bizet. That caused Bizet to be unable to move normally. However, Bizet was worthy of being called a monster by Rin Enbin. Most of his bones and spine were broken, but Bizet was still able to stand up. I really have some doubts about whether you are a human, Bizet. Wuming looked at Bizet with admiration. No matter what, such an opponent should be respected. Ilya, Mayu, and Little Black took 2 steps back and looked at the magician, who didn't look like a human. Since you now know that I am on their side, then do you still want to seize all the cards? Wuming wasn't in a hurry to deal with Bizet. Instead, he talked to him. The higher-ups didn't expect that there would be a servant to stop them. The mission has changed. I need to ask the higher-ups for instructions. Although his bones were broken, Bizet seemed to have used some special method to block the pain. Although his body was a little embarrassed, Bizet didn't seem to feel any pain. He was very calm and talked to Wu Ming. You don't need to ask the higher-ups. I will go directly to them. You can stay here. After that, Wu Ming activated Heaven Lock. Golden spatial ripples appeared around Bazet, and suddenly golden chains appeared out of nowhere and bound him. The chain that connects the sky and earth of Mesopotamia? Bizet seemed to recognize the chain and gave up struggling. Even if she struggled, she wouldn't be able to break free. What's going on, big brother? Ilya asked, somewhat at a loss. That's right. Don't keep us in the dark. Blackie agreed. Wu Ming's big hands instantly pressed Ilya's and Blackie's heads and rubbed them vigorously. You two, you still have class tomorrow. This is your punishment. Hurry up and go back to sleep. Sob, little Black and Ilya sobbed. Wu Ming let go of Blackie and Ilya, and the two began to complain. Really, big brother is so rude. Ilya rubbed her hair that was messed up by Wu Ming with a red face and complained while looking at Wu Ming. Also, why is Mayu fine? Blackie's face was also red as he pointed at Mayu, who was standing beside Wu Ming. Me. The little companions who were implicated looked at the two in a daze. Yes, that's right. Mayu also needs to be punished. Then let us punish her. Then Ilya and Blackie looked at Mayu with an evil expression and walked toward her step by step. Wait a moment. Wu Ming took 2 steps back in a panic. Bang. 2 knocks sounded. Wu Ming put away the hand that he used to hit Ilya and Blackie, looked at the 2 little Lolas who were hugging their heads, and said, Mayu is much more self-disciplined than the 2 of you. Mayu is such an obedient little sister, so how can I punish her? Only disobedient little sisters can be used to tease. Cough, educate. Sob, big brother is bullying. Ilya looked at Wu Ming with tears in her eyes. Yes, big brother is bullying. Blackie also learned from Ilya. The 2 of you. Wu Ming shook his head, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Then he used his finger that was infused with magic power to poke their foreheads. It doesn't hurt anymore. Ilya touched her forehead and looked at Wu Ming with amazement. It's just a little trick. Hurry up and go back. Ling and Livia are fine. I will tell you what happened tomorrow. Also, when you came out, you must not have explained to Sela and the others clearly. She must be worried about the 2 of you now. Wu Ming reminded. Not good, Blackie, let's go back quickly. Ilya pulled Blackie's hand and hurriedly ran back. Don't pull me, Ilya. At this moment, Rin and Osaka, Livia and Livia's butler, August, who had already recovered, walked out of the house. Sister Rin, Sister Livia, Grandpa August, are you okay? Seeing the few people who were in a sorry state, Mayu ran over and asked worriedly. Although she knew that her brother Wu Ming said that they were fine, Mayu still couldn't help but worry. We're already fine. Thanks to the Lune Stone provided by Wu Ming, the effect was unexpectedly good. Rin and Osaka said and moved his arm to show that he was now very healthy. After all, their sorry state was only because their clothes were dirty in the battle. The injuries caused by the battle had already healed. Thank you for your concern, Mayu. We are fine. Now, we need to pay attention to the problem of how to deal with this. Livia finished speaking and looked at Bizet, who was tied up by Wu Ming's heaven lock. Bizet closed his eyes and looked like he was waiting to be slaughtered. At this moment, Wu Ming expressed his opinion. Regarding this matter, I will personally go to the clock tower to deal with it. Bizet will stay in the Shuayu residence. However, not only Rin and Osaka and Livia, but even August and Mayu could sense that when Wu Ming said that he would personally deal with it, his eyes became very scary. However, it was also very reliable. Having a reliable partner is really reassuring. Then I will leave it to you, Wu Ming. Rin and Osaka and Livia looked at each other and smiled. Right, how are you going to sleep tonight? Although the house hasn't completely collapsed, part of the house has been destroyed. How about staying in the Shuayu residence temporarily? Wu Ming suggested. August, go and check the damage of the villa. If it really can't be done, we will go to Wu Ming and Mayo's house. Livia ordered her butler. Yes, Mississippi. With that, the strong old man strode toward the back of the villa and began to check the situation of the villa. At this moment, Wu Ming walked toward Bizet. Wu Ming, are you going to do something to Bizet? Rin and Osaka asked curiously when he saw Wu Ming's actions. Yes, I have basically broken all of Bizet's bones. If I don't fix it now, it might leave some hidden injuries in the future. With that, Lines of Lune runes representing repair, life, and heal appeared in Wuming's hand and wrapped around Bizet's body. Bizet looked deeply at Wuming and didn't say anything. Then Rin and Osaka asked, "By the way, should we postpone the matter of the 9th rank card?" Chapter 262. When Rin Enbin brought up this topic, Meiyo's expression suddenly changed. Wuming naturally noticed it. "Let's talk about this tomorrow. It's already late, everyone should go back and rest." Then, without waiting for Rin Enbin and Luvia to react, Wuming opened the teleportation door and left with Meiyu and Bizet. Where Wuming left, a stone engraved with mysterious runes was left there. The stone glowed and Wuming's voice came from the sky. "When you decide to live here, inject magic into this rune stone and it will open the teleportation door. Meiyu and I will go back first." The voice disappeared, and only the runes on the stone glowed. Rin Enbin and Luvia looked at each other, and both of them saw the clues in each other's eyes. Seems like Wuming and Meiyu have some secret that they don't want us to know. And it's a secret that has a lot to do with rank cards. However, the two's conversation ended there. Then Rin Enbin picked up the rune stone. After this crisis, Wuming's relationship with Rin Enbin and Luvia improved. Since they obviously didn't want them to know, then there was no need to ask. When the time came, Wuming would definitely tell them. Just like Rin Enbin and Luvia, they usually looked like they were fighting to the death, but when the time came, the two of them could cooperate very well. This was the bond that existed even in the dark magician world. Shuasuki Mansion. Wuming walked out of the teleportation door with Meiyu, who was no longer in her transformed state. As for Bizet, she was already thrown into the Shuasuki Mansion by Wuming using the teleportation door. Wuming believed that Bizet wouldn't run away. It should be said that she was trapped in Wuming's magic workshop and couldn't escape. "Brother Wuming?" Meiyu timidly called out to Wuming. "Are you thinking about the 9th rank card?" Wuming squatted down and looked at Meiyu. Wuming once told Meiyu that she became a rank card and followed Wuming from another world. However, even if that was the case, there should only be 8 rank cards, and the 9th one shouldn't exist. "Brother Wuming, could it be?" Wuming looked at Wuming worriedly. Wuming naturally understood Meiyu's meaning. Meiyu was worried that the Ainsworth family chased her to this world. Although Meiyu was once called the Holy Grail by the Ainsworth family, and Meiyu was also the center of the Holy Grail War, but because of the protection of Wuming and Shiro Amiya, Meiyu didn't suffer too much harm, so Meiyu didn't show a particularly scared look. "Because Brother Wuming is by my side, as long as Brother Wuming is by my side, I have infinite motivation." Meiyu had always relied on this idea to fight. "It's okay, Meiyu." Wuming touched Meiyu's head. "I will personally retrieve the rank card and I will do it with all my strength." Because it was underground, the mirror world must also be underground. In other words, the mirror world was full of soil, and in order to enter the mirror world, one must be in the corresponding position. In other words, if Wuming wanted to enter the mirror world, he must open up a sufficient space in the underground mirror world. "I want to directly dig down and then enter the mirror world to retrieve the rank cards." Wuming waved his hand and said casually, "Stop your weird thoughts. If you do that, the mirror world will only be a space filled with soil." Rin Tasaka said irritably, "First, you have to dig a tunnel and then open up an underground space at the target location." Rin Tasaka then rubbed his chin and analyzed. "Then I'll call it Luvia Salinta Eiderfeld." Luvia pointed at herself arrogantly. "Indeed, for a nouveau riche like you, opening up an underground space is nothing." Rin Tasaka looked at Luvia with jealousy. There was no helping it. She was rich. "Then Wuming, have you really decided to enter the mirror world alone?" Rin Tasaka and Luvia looked at Wuming. Chapter 263. Wuming looked at Rin Enbin in surprise. "It can't be helped. This is the best choice for now." Rin Enbin sighed. "You're right. Then I wish you good luck. Trust me. Even if I die, I won't really die. My real body isn't here. You have to survive." Luvia looked at Wuming. "I remember Meiyu's birthday is coming up. When we celebrate with her, I don't think Meiyu will be happy without you as her brother." During Meiyu's stay at Luvia's house, Luvia accidentally found out about Meiyu's birthday because she wanted to know more about Meiyu and Wuming's past. "I remember Meiyu happily telling me that you celebrated her first birthday with her." The smile on her face was the brightest I've ever seen. "You're right. It's almost July 20th. Wuming closed his eyes and recalled the 5 years he spent with Meiyu. Every time Meiyu's birthday came up, Wuming would throw a fun party for Meiyu. Including Mayu, there were only 3 people. Wuming still remembered that Emiya Kiritsugu's death made Shiro Emiya sad for a few days. At the time it was Meiyu's birthday. Shiro Emiya forced a smile and celebrated Meiyu's birthday with Wuming. In the end, Meiyu saw Shiro Emiya's sadness and made a fool of herself. At the time Meiyu's emotions weren't very rich. But now Meiyu had changed a lot. However, because Wuming was also a problematic child, Meiyu's emotions were still not at the level of a normal person even after a few years of school life. However, Wuming was lucky to have Rinpochen. If he hadn't met Meiyu, if only Shiro Emiya was left to take care of Meiyu after Emiya Kiritsugu's death, with Shiro Emiya's personality and Emiya Kiritsugu's teachings, perhaps Shiro Emiya would take care of Meiyu like a prop. Well, Wuming felt that Shiro Emiya might not listen to Kiritsugu and take care of Meiyu like a sister. That's all for now. Wuming opened his eyes. I'll leave the plan to build the channel to you guys. After speaking, Wuming left as if he didn't care about anything else. It's rare to have time to rest. Let Meiyu rest more and enjoy this birthday. Soon, it was July 20th, which was right next to the summer vacation. During this period of time, Meiyu and the others' primary school life was still as usual. They continued to play and learn every day. However, it seemed that they noticed the slight change in Wuming's and Meiyu's mood. Elia and little Blackie didn't stay in their own house. Instead, they often stayed in Shuayu's house. This made Sela complain to Wuming often. However, Alice Field smiled happily and said, "Isn't that great? Mr. Wuming is a good person." On the other hand, Rin Enbin and Luvia were wholeheartedly focused on building the channel. It was worth mentioning that perhaps because they were both holy grails, Meiyu and Elia's birthdays were actually on the same day. As for little Blackie, who was Elia's other half, it was naturally the same birthday as them. This became a big party for the 3 of them to celebrate their birthdays at the same time. As Winterwood City wasn't far from the seaside, Wuming, Meiyu, Elia, little Blackie, and the others discussed celebrating their birthdays by the seaside. It was worth mentioning that the quartet who often played with Elia and the others also agreed to celebrate their birthdays by the seaside. But Wuming felt that they were mainly going to the seaside to play. By the seaside, Wuming wore swimming trunks and revealed his muscular upper body. Looking at the few of them who had already started playing around, Wuming turned to Meiyu beside him. "Meiyu, why aren't you playing with your friends?" Meiyu was wearing a fresh and cute swimsuit. Because she wasn't used to it, her face was slightly red. I want to play with Brother Wuming." "It's good that you have such intentions. It's rare for you to have playmates, so hurry up and go play." Wuming nudged Meiyu, indicating for Meiyu to go over. Meiyu looked at Elia and the others who were waving at her, then looked at Wuming and nodded with a smile. "Okay then, Brother Wuming, see you later." With that, Meiyu ran toward Elia. As expected, Meiyu has become very close to a normal person. Wuming crossed his arms and nodded. "I really couldn't tell that Lord Hyunryong is actually a Siscon." A serious female voice came from behind Wuming. Wuming narrowed his eyes and turned his head to look behind him. "What? I'm not allowed to be a Siscon. I have a full understanding of modern human society." Wuming looked at Bizet with displeasure. Fully understanding modern society doesn't mean one has to be a Siscon. This was something that Bizet didn't dare to say. "No, I'm just casually saying it. Please don't take it to heart." At this moment, Bizet was dragging a large amount of luggage behind him. If you're a servant, then do your job well. Do you still want tips?" Wuming said with a smile. However, now Wuming's smile was slightly broken. "Yes, master." Bizet had an involuntary expression and bowed to Wuming. Now Wuming was Bizet's master, and Bizet was a servant under Wuming. A few days after Bizet attacked Luvia's house, Wuming went to Zelika's office and asked for a list of people. Then Wuming visited these people one by one in a friendly manner overnight. After they promised with tears in their eyes, Wuming left after teaching them a lesson. "All right, these people also gifted Wuming a large amount of rare magic materials. Since they were gifted with great kindness, how could Wuming not accept it? And the reason why Bizet became like this was because of Luvia. Luvia's family, the Eiderfelts, used the destruction of the mansion as an excuse to pressure these forces. This caused these forces that were robbed clean by Wuming to be unable to explain themselves and could only sell Bizet. All of his credit cards were frozen, and all travel expenses were cancelled. This was Bizet who was scammed by the higher-ups. Could it only be described as evil capitalism? Because Bizet lived in the Shuayu house before the order was issued, Wuming used the threat of eating my food, living in my house, using my money, to force Bizet to work in Wuming's house. Just like this, the penniless Bizet had no choice but to become Wu Ming's servant. And he was a servant who didn't have a salary and only received tips. It couldn't be helped. After all, Bizet was in debt to begin with. Then go put down your luggage. We'll be spending the night here. As he spoke, Wu Ming took out a large amount of money. Take this money and use it as your activity fund. If there's any left, use it as your travel expenses. Yes, master, I'll go now. Bizet took the money. Although his facial expression didn't change much, his somewhat lively tone betrayed Bizet's unstable heart. Although Wu Ming's Shuoyu house's wealth couldn't be compared to the long-established Eiderfeldt's family, but in Winterwood City, it was still considered a big local. Naturally, it had this small amount of money. Wu Ming laid down on the beach chair that was already set up, basking in the sun with a face full of enjoyment. Sure enough, when it's time to enjoy. Summer vacation is the best. Chapter 264. In the end, Wu Ming didn't get to enjoy the sunlight for long before Little Black pulled him over. Big brother, it's rare for you to come to the beach. Don't just lie there. Come and play in the water. Yes, I know. Just like that, Wu Ming was pulled over by Little Black and they played a game of beach volleyball. Wu Ming, Little Black, Mayu, Moriyama, Nanakuru were in one group. Ilya, Yujinza, Ryuko, Kurihara, Tarika, and Gue Mimi were in the other group. Of course, this was the result of drawing lots. Although Ilya was a bit angry that she couldn't be in the same group as Wu Ming and was even mocked by Little Black, Ilya still tried her best to play beach volleyball. Although the result was that Wu Ming's group won. After that, Kurihara Tarika gritted her teeth and tried to persuade her. Alright, it's just a game anyway. Be happy. Today is your birthday, Ilya. That's right. Moriyama Nanakuru agreed. Be happy, Ilya-chan. The gentle Gue Mimi also tried to persuade her. Although Kurihara Tarika and the others said so, Ilya was still a bit unwilling. I originally wanted to be in the same group as Big Brother. Not to mention that I couldn't be in the same group as Big Brother, I was even mocked by Little Black. After Wu Ming's group won, Little Black hugged Wu Ming and kissed him. Although I can't deny that Little Black is excited, I really can't accept it. Ilya looked at Little Black and Wu Ming who were playing with each other. She was very disappointed. Tarika looked at Ilya awkwardly. Brother complex is really scary. Speaking of brothers, Tarika thought of Ilya's brother, Shiro Amiya. Speaking of which, why didn't Ilya's brother come? My brother seemed to have said, it's not good for me to go to a birthday party full of little girls. Besides, Mr. Wu Ming will also go back and I still have work to do in school. My brother used this reason to refuse to come to the beach. Ilya is really calm. I remember that Ilya seemed to like her brother in the past. Why did she change to like Mayo's brother now? Nanao Moriyama narrowed her eyes and said in a strange tone. You, what are you talking about? How could I like Big Brother? It could only be said that Ilya was still a child and did not know how to hide it at all. Kurihara Kibana and the others could tell at a glance. I don't think it's a good idea to interrogate Ilya like that, Kurihara Tora said, a little embarrassed. Yes. Gue Mimi, the lowly with a weak sense of existence, also nodded. By the way, aren't you guys interested? Mayu likes her brother a lot. Does Ilya want to steal Mayo's true love and act out a sad love story with Mayo's brother? Nanao Moriyama's words attracted Kurihara Tora's attention, and even Gue Mimi was a little moved. After all, children of this age were especially curious, and it was inevitable for them to have wild imaginations, including Ilya. Love story. Steal Big Brother from Mayu? How is that possible? Nakuri-chan, stop talking nonsense. Ilya was at a loss and shouted in panic. Does Ilya want Brother Wu Ming? This was Mayu, who was worried about Ilya's situation and left Wu Ming and Little Black's team to visit Ilya. Mayu? What are you talking about? I didn't mean that. Now, encountering the person she was talking about, Ilya was a little embarrassed at this moment. If it's Ilya, then it's not impossible. I can share Brother Wu Ming with you. Mayu considered for a moment and said as if she had made up her mind. Oh, what a surprise, Mayu-chan. He actually wants to share Big Brother Wu Ming with Ilya. Ilya's little friends were all astonished. What? Did I miss something? This was Yujinza Ryuko, who had just returned from swimming in the sea after playing beach volleyball. There's nothing. Ilya pulled Mayu and ran away. Did I miss something? Yujinza Ryuko looked at Kurihara Tora and others innocently. Bang. Kurihara Tora punched Yujinza Ryuko's head. Yujinza Ryuko's eyes instantly turned into mosquito smoke, and then he instantly fell to the ground. Really, don't come and make trouble. In the distance, Ilya, who was pulling Mayu and running away, stopped at a large rock and gasped for breath. Ilya. Mayu didn't understand why Ilya pulled her and ran away. She tilted her head and looked at Ilya. But Tora and others were just joking. Ah. Ilya laughed awkwardly. But Mayu still had a puzzled expression. Because it's a little embarrassing. Although I like Big Brother, he's Mayo's big brother after all. Moreover, I liked my own big brother before, so this makes me seem a little unladylike. Eh? No. I didn't say that. Ilya explained in a panic. Mayu looked behind Ilya. Little Black walked out from behind the rock. Really, Ilya, do you have to be so timid? If you love, say it out loud. Little Black looked at Ilya speechlessly. Don't tell me you didn't. Little Black interrupted Ilya's words. Don't try to lie. I was one with you not long ago. I can say that I know everything that you know and think. Little Black was like a general that made Ilya speechless. Mayu looked at Ilya, who lowered her head and was even more puzzled. That's because Big Brother helped you many times in battle. He even helped you when you were in danger. However, because of this, you gradually fell in love with Big Brother, Little Black continued. This isn't something that's difficult to talk about. After all, it's very easy to conquer a person in such a situation. Ilya, we're still children. We might not have a clear understanding of things like love. You don't have to be so afraid and feel inferior just because you fell in love with Big Brother. I'm sorry, Mayu. Ilya lowered her head. She didn't dare to look at Mayu. However, Mayu only shook her head and held Mayu's hand. I understand Ilya's feelings very well. I remember the first time I met Brother Wuming. Wuming used his warm and powerful arms to save me. From that moment onwards, I felt that I couldn't leave Brother Wuming. Mayu recalled how Wuming had saved her in Frank's house. Mayu revealed a smile that Ilya and Little Black had never seen before. Seriously, what's wrong with you guys? Why aren't you guys here yet? Are you guys chatting about something interesting? At this moment, Wuming walked out from the other side of the rock. Huh? Why is Big Brother here? Ilya changed the topic in a panic. Bizette brought watermelons. I wanted Little Black to call you guys over to eat. I didn't expect to be delayed for so long. Wuming pointed at the watermelons placed on the beach and xianxia and the others who had already started to enjoy them. I'm sorry, Big Brother. I forgot about this because we were talking about something interesting. Little Black stuck out his tongue in embarrassment. That's nothing. I thought something had happened. Alright, let's go eat the watermelons. Yes. Chapter 265. Time passed quickly while everyone was playing by the beach. By the time everyone reacted, it was almost late. Okay, everyone go to the house over there. Let's start the birthday party. Yes, the temperature at night by the sea in summer generally dropped a little, which added a trace of relief to the summer heat. As the sun gradually set and the moon slowly rose, Wuming and the others gathered at the dining table. There were countless delicacies on the table. Although they were not made by Wuming, the taste was top-notch. After all, this was made by the chef that Wuming spent a lot of money to hire. In the center of the table was a cake with ice cream and ice. It made people feel refreshed just by looking at it. What a sumptuous table of food. Ilya smiled happily. The changes in her mood caused by what happened during the day had almost recovered at this moment. Of course, this is my shop. Xianxia's face was full of pride. That's right. By the way, because this shop was the most popular one around, Wuming also chose this shop. When they found out that this shop was the property of Xianxia's family, Ilya and the others were quite surprised. By the way, the chef was hired by Wuming. In short, Xianxia provided the shop, and the delicacies were provided by others. Although Xianxia's father was a little unwilling at first, when Wuming paid enough money, they happily agreed. Wuming couldn't help but sigh at the power of money again. Wuming remembered that Luvia was able to make Bizette's higher-ups compromise. Well, even if Bizette's higher-ups didn't give in, Wuming wouldn't let Bizette go back. Not afraid of death, not afraid of pain, beautiful appearance, vigorous skills, and the power to create the backlight sword. She would do whatever the higher-ups told her to do. She was extremely obedient, pure, and so on. In Wuming's view, Bizette was simply a perfect servant. How could he let her go? Back to the topic. Before starting the meal, Wuming took out the birthday gifts prepared for the three of them. 3 football-sized boxes were tied with pink, blue, and red bows respectively. Thank you, Big Brother, Brother Wuming. The 3 of them appeared to be a little emotional at this moment. Hey big brother, can I open it now? Little Black looked at Wu Ming expectantly. Of course you can. You can all open it now. After all, it was prepared for you. Wu Ming waved his hand, indicating that Xiao Hei and the others could open it. The three of them couldn't wait to open the packaging and take out the contents of the box. There were 3 gift boxes that were slightly larger than the size of a palm. However, based on their exquisite appearance, they must be very valuable. I personally wrapped these 3 boxes, and the gifts inside were prepared by me without anyone else's permission. Open them and take a look. Big brother, did you make it yourself? Ilya glanced at Wu Ming and carefully opened the gift box. What entered Ilya's eyes was an exquisite pendant necklace. Naturally, Xiao Hei and Meiyo's gifts were also pendant necklaces. The most important places on the 3 necklaces were decorated with beautiful gems. However, Ilya's pendant was mainly pink, Meiyo's pendant was mainly blue, and Xiao Hei's pendant was mainly red. The gems were also the same. Wow, so beautiful. Kurihara Narika said somewhat exaggeratedly from across the table. It's really beautiful. The quiet lowly Gue Mimi said with an envious expression. I can only say that as expected of a member of a large family, this gift is very thoughtful. Moriyama Nantorai nodded. Although Wu Ming didn't stay in Winterwood City for a long time, Wu Ming used some legal methods to create a Shutsuki family in Winterwood City. To the outside world, it was announced that the Shutsuki residents had moved to Winterwood City. Many people knew about this, so Moriyama Nantorai wasn't worried about this matter. It's not for eating. Bad review, bad review. Bang. Kurihara Narika instantly stepped on Yujienza Ryuko under the table. You idiot, even if you're joking, you have to look at the atmosphere. After Ilya, Meiyu and Xiao Hei took out the necklaces, they were all attracted by the beautiful necklaces. However, Xiao Hei's eyes turned as she thought of something and looked at Wu Ming. Big brother, I want you to put it on for me, okay? Xiao Hei is too cunning, I want it too. Ilya didn't want to be outdone and said. Wu Ming looked at Meiyu, who also had an expectant expression, and then agreed. Okay, line up one by one. After taking the necklace from Xiao Hei's hand, Wu Ming wrapped it around Xiao Hei's neck and easily put it on. I love you the most, big brother. Xiao Hei instantly kissed Wu Ming's cheek and shouted happily. Xiao Hei, what are you doing? Ilya said in a panic. This is my thank you gift for big brother. You can do the same. After all, no one said that you can't do this. Xiao Hei looked at Ilya provocatively and smiled at her. Ilya walked in front of Wu Ming and handed the necklace to Wu Ming. Then, when Ilya was hesitating whether to kiss Wu Ming or not, Wu Ming put on Ilya's necklace for her. He left Ilya with a regretful look. Finally, it was Meiyo's turn. Brother Wu Ming? Meiyu looked at Wu Ming with a red face. Clearly, she was also wondering if she could be like Xiao Hei. Why are you hesitating about this? As long as Meiyu grows up healthily and happily, it will be the greatest thank you gift for me. With that, Wu Ming put on the necklace for Meiyu. Thank you, brother Wu Ming, for always being with me. With that, Meiyu gently approached Wu Ming's cheek and kissed Wu Ming's cheek. You even did it for Meiyu? Ilya lay on the ground with a defeated expression. Wu Ming smiled and patted Meiyu's head. This formed the warmest scene between siblings in this banquet. Chapter 266. Although the beach where Wu Ming and the others were at was very close to Winterwood City, they still stayed in a hotel by the sea that night. After all, it was a birthday party, and Wu Ming certainly couldn't let the guests run around after the party. Therefore, Wu Ming, who had a small fortune, booked the entire hotel for everyone to play and stay. The next day, Wu Ming booked a car and sent everyone home. In the afternoon, Wu Ming went to Livia's house and asked about the establishment of the underground passage. Because we are only responsible for supporting you, the passage is almost completed. Originally, Livia wanted to build a battle fortress. At the very least, she could arrange the terrain in advance when she fought against the mirror world servants transformed by cards. After all, the mirror world was just a reflection of this world. Except for the fact that there were no people and the color of the environment was slightly different, it was just like the real world. So soon? I thought we would have to wait a few more days. Wu Ming said with some surprise. We've dismantled all the places that were originally designed as traps, and simply built an underground tunnel that can withstand high impact. If that's all, of course it can be completed quickly. Rin and Osaka stroked her twin ponytails and explained to Wu Ming, then asked. By the way, when did you decide to retrieve the cart so we can be prepared? Yes, even if we don't go into the mirror world with you, we still have to be prepared. This card that has been absorbing for nearly 2 months may evolve into something we can't imagine. Even if you are a servant, Wu Ming, you can't be careless. Counting from the first job rank card, from Wu Ming's departure to Little Black's separation from Ilya's body, Bazette's attack on Luvia's family, and Luvia's secret relationship with Rin Enbin, Mio, Ilya and Little Black's birthdays were almost 2 months away. In the worst-case scenario, this class card was a monster that had been absorbing leyline magic for 2 months. It had to be said that Rin and Osaka and Luvia were very thoughtful. When Wu Ming dealt with the most difficult berserker, it took almost a whole day. Although Hercules was strengthened by the black mud, and Wu Ming was limited by the body of a servant, it was enough to see how difficult it was to deal with a card transformed into a servant. Even if the 9th card was Assassin, after absorbing the magic power of the Earth Vein for nearly 2 months, its power would become extraordinary. In short, this class card was very difficult to deal with. Wu Ming thought for a moment, then looked at Rin and Osaka and Luvia. Let's do it tomorrow. Rin and Luvia looked at each other, then nodded to Wu Ming. After returning to the Shuasuki house, Wu Ming saw Meiyu waiting for him as soon as he entered the door. Welcome back, brother Wu Ming. Meiyu smiled and looked straight at Wu Ming. Wu Ming froze for a moment, then walked in front of Meiyu and touched her head. I'm back, my lovely sister Meiyu. Looking at Meiyu's face, Wu Ming felt very relieved. Brother Wu Ming, I made dinner, let's eat together. Although Wu Ming often cooked at home, it didn't mean that Meiyu didn't know how to cook. On the contrary, Meiyu's cooking skills could be said to be deeply Wu Ming's inheritance. If Meiyu worked as a chef in a restaurant, then the restaurant would definitely make a lot of money. Of course, Wu Ming certainly wouldn't allow it. A magical girl becoming a chef? Are you kidding me? Oh, then I must taste it well, I haven't eaten much during this time. The servant's body only needed magical power, Wu Ming usually ate out of habit. In the dining room of the Shuasuki house, Wu Ming tasted Meiyu's dishes. It's delicious. It seems that Meiyu will grow up to be an excellent and beautiful bride. Bride? Can I really become a bride? At the moment, Meiyu seemed a little uneasy. Wu Ming, who was very familiar with Meiyu, naturally knew what Meiyu was thinking. Don't worry Meiyu, your brother will protect you for a lifetime. Modestly speaking, if my main body is here, even the suppression will have to give in to me. Although she didn't quite understand what suppression was, since brother Wu Ming said it must be a powerful character. Meiyu thought. Brother Wu Ming has always been so powerful and has always been so reliable. Looking at Wu Ming's rather proud expression, Meiyu, who was originally a little depressed, was also amused by Wu Ming. That's why Meiyu just needs to be happy. Otherwise, as her older brother, I would be neglecting my duty. Looking at the short black hair that covered her blonde hair because of the use of magic, and then looking at Wu Ming's pale golden pupils and Wu Ming's handsome face that didn't want to live for a long time, Meiyu's beautiful face showed a beautiful smile. Now I feel that it's really a miracle to be able to be brother Wu Ming's sister. Why do you suddenly say that? Wu Ming was somewhat puzzled. Nothing, Meiyu looked at Wu Ming and continued to smile. Although he was still somewhat puzzled, but, I'm also very happy Meiyu to be able to be your sister, to be your brother. Although it seemed like nothing major happened between the two, Wu Ming knew that his relationship with Meiyu had improved. The next night, Wu Ming, Meiyu, Blackie, Ilya, Rin Enbin, and Luvia all gathered on the beach. Because Luvia and Rin Enbin detected that the location of the 9th class card was under the beach near the sea, Luvia directly let her construction team rent the nearby beach for construction. When Wu Ming, Meiyu, and the others held a birthday party together, Wu Ming chose another beach, so Wu Ming and the others didn't let the construction dampen their spirits. By the way, Luvia's house that was destroyed by Bazette had already been repaired. Let's go, this should be the final battle. Probably. Rin Enbin's final words at the end made the originally stressful atmosphere relax a little. Rin is right, after all there are already 2 extra cards, we can't rule out the possibility of other cards. Luvia explained. Don't worry, this is indeed the final battle. After this battle, I will tell you the origin of the class card, as well as the secrets of me and Meiyu. We have been waiting for this for a long time, big brother. When the time comes, you have to tell me properly. Blackie hugged Wu Ming's arm and acted coquettishly. Could it be that everyone already knows that brother Wu Ming and I are hiding something from you? Meiyu looked at everyone in disbelief as if they should have known. After all, we have lived together for such a long time, naturally we have already noticed that big brother and Meiyu are hiding something. Ilya touched her head a little shyly. Sorry Ilya. Meiyu looked at Ilya a little apologetically. It's okay Meiyu, everyone has things that they don't want to talk about. Ilya. Mayu looked at Ilya rather emotionally. If you don't catch up, we are going to leave. Blackie's voice came from afar. Ilya and Mayu came back to their senses and realized that they were the only ones left. Wait for us. Chapter 267. Starting from the ground, there was a spiral staircase that led to the bottom. Tat-at-a-dash. Wuming and the others arrived at the bottom of the staircase. After arriving at the bottom, Wuming realized that the space at the bottom was extremely large. The spiral staircase was just a passageway. This is the battle location we designed. Rin Enbin spoke first. Silent wonder surveyed the area in front of him. It was a semicircular cave with a diameter of nearly 100 meters. At a glance, there was nothing in the way of obstructions. This was an area that was created to facilitate Silent Wonder's battle. The walls were made of high-density alloy with a large number of magic runes engraved on them. They were mainly used to support the ceiling and prevent the cave from collapsing during battle. Since they had considered the possibility of a battle, they didn't use high-grade flooring. It was just a simple metal plate. How is it? It should be enough for your battle, right? Livia asked Wuming. It's enough, but it'll take a while. Looking at Wu Ming, who was not in a hurry, everyone was puzzled. Is there anyone else coming? It's almost midnight. Rin Enbin said. Although they could enter the mirror world at a time other than midnight, it was more stable to enter at midnight. Coming. After Wu Ming said that, there was the sound of hurried running. A figure rushed down the spiral staircase and jumped in front of Wu Ming. I'm not late, am I? Bizet. Why are you here? Everyone was shocked. That's right, the person who came was Bizet in a men's suit. Is this your idea, Wu Ming? Livia looked at Wu Ming in surprise. Yes. After all, Bizet's combat power is not to be underestimated. With her and you guys here, I can rest assured. For some reason, Wu Ming felt uneasy. Therefore, Wu Ming called Bizet, who was a servant, over. Is she really okay? After all, she was our enemy not long ago. Rin Enbin whispered into Wu Ming's ear. Don't worry. Since I've already become Master's servant, I'll definitely abide by the rules. Bizet vowed solemnly, speaking with a rather imposing manner. Otherwise, Master will deduct my tips again. I don't have a salary to begin with, so I can only rely on tips to get the funds to go home. Today I almost blew up the kitchen. Not only did I not get my tips, but my working hours were also extended. In the end, I was even locked up to reflect on myself. Bazet said gloomily. This was also the reason why Bizet didn't appear when Mayu and Wu Ming were having dinner together. This is really hard work. Ilya laughed awkwardly. All in all, with Bizet here, your safety can be assured. Even if I have to risk my life, I will definitely protect your lives and get the tip. If you want to hurt you, you'll have to step over my life first. Bizet's face was full of, I'm burning up. I think you're just doing it for the tip. Ilya looked at the burning Bizet speechlessly. Looking at the group that wasn't nervous at all, Wu Ming smiled. Brother Wu Ming. At this moment, Mayu walked in front of Wu Ming. You must come back safely. Wu Ming looked at Mayu's eyes. The determination and trust in her eyes were conveyed to Wu Ming. I definitely will. I haven't eaten enough of the food Mayu cooked for me. FGLA stood up. Then I'll be right back. Wu Ming walked to the center of the empty space underground and waved his hand with a smile. Teleportation begins. With Kalas's voice, the magic circle wrapped Wu Ming and Wu Ming disappeared. Wu Ming opened his eyes that were closed because of the white light at the moment of teleportation. He was moving toward the mirror world, surrounded by a strange space. A virtual space? Wu Ming said. This was a space that existed on the reverse side of the world, and the mirror world was also on the reverse side of the world, a space that was rooted above the virtual space. At this time Wu Ming heard a song, but the sound was quite sad. This is? The moment Wu Ming heard the song, he felt that his body's function had declined. According to the attributes of a servant, all 6 attributes had declined by 1 level. His strength, durability, and agility, which were originally grade C, had all been reduced to grade D. Other than his mana, which was still grade X, even his luck and noble phantasm had been reduced by a grade, from grade A and A+ to grade B and B+ respectively. Wu Ming looked at a certain place through mana perception. Unfortunately, Wu Ming only vaguely saw a figure with big horns before he was teleported away. Wu Ming appeared in the underground cave's mirror world. Just now, who was that? Wu Ming thought about the figure he saw just now. With just the song, Wu Ming's attributes were reduced. Although he was a servant, Being able to reduce Wuming's attributes showed how powerful he was. If my main body was here, I wouldn't be afraid of that guy. Unfortunately, I'm still sleeping inside my origin, Wuming said regretfully. After all, regardless of whether it was an enemy or an unknown thing, Wuming was interested in that figure. However, things seemed to be a little bad now. Wuming looked at the huge magic fog that was still spinning in the center of the cave, and a berserker's roar came from it. This is a little bad. After all, facing a powerful enemy, Wuming's attributes were reduced. No matter how one looked at it, Wuming was at a disadvantage. Such a huge magic fog that can be used as both a spear and a shield. How much magic did this guy absorb? Wuming frowned. Although it was still not as powerful as Wuming's magic, this magic fog was indeed quite large. I hope he wasn't stained by the strange black mud. While Wuming was talking, the card servant in the magic fog launched an attack. Swish, swish, swish. 5 or 6 iron whips formed by the magic fog viciously lashed at Wuming. Boom! The floor was smashed. Wuming jumped up, floated in the air, and then took out a silver holy sword from the golden ripples that appeared beside him. I'll accept the greeting gift. Now it's my gift to you. Stars hidden in the world, holy sword that annihilates all evils, there is no need to cover your light anymore, shine. The broken holy sword turned into a silver dragon-shaped light beam and rushed toward the magic fog that was constantly spinning. Silver meteor. Chapter 268. A violent explosion appeared in front of Wuming, and a gust of wind engulfed Wuming. His clothes fluttered in the wind. The mana fog dispersed, but what entered Wuming's eyes was a huge shield. This sense of déjà vu really makes one feel somewhat helpless. This scene caused Wuming to recall the scene when he was fighting Romo. Back then, Wuming had also fired a beam of light, but it was blocked by Rama's Aegis shield. However, it wasn't the Aegis shield, but a shield that Wuming didn't recognize. A noble artifact? After all, only a relic could block Wuming's silver meteor. At this moment, the huge shield began to crack. Then, it shattered and turned into bits of black light before disappearing. After the shield shattered, the figure behind the shield was revealed. This figure was pitch black. Other than its blood-red eyes and the blue lines on its cheeks, the rest of its body was completely black. Let's call him Black Follower for now. It seemed that the Black Follower was furious because his shield was broken. He waved his hands and countless black ripples appeared on the ground beside him. This move. Could it be? Wuming looked at this very familiar scene and felt a little excited for a moment. However, the Black Follower would not let go of any opportunity to kill the enemy. Countless swords, spears, swords and halberds emerged from the black ripples. Black Follower turned his hand and countless weapons were pointed at Wuming. The weapons that were summoned by Black Follower were all noble relics. Swish, swish, swish. Countless relics shot towards Wuming, but Wuming did not panic at all. He did not even try to dodge. Then a series of explosions occurred at Wuming's location. Boom, boom, boom. After the explosion, smoke and dust covered the place where Wuming was standing. As expected, you are the hero king. Gilgamesh, my disciple. Wuming's voice came from the dust cloud. Black Follower was slightly stunned when he heard someone calling his name. When the dust settled, Wuming held a shield in his hand. It was the Aegis shield that Romo had used in the previous battle, the Aegis shield. Behind Wuming, the Manchala formation appeared. Then Wuming put the shield back into the formation, and the formation disappeared. That's right, this was the materialization of the Sword of Salvation held by the last king, the Manchala formation, which was comparable to the Gate of Babylon. After successfully becoming the hero and becoming the last king, Wuming thought more than once that since the Sword of Salvation was the weapon of the last king, could Wuming, who had become the last king, use the Manchala formation and the countless god relics in it? The answer was yes. Wuming had successfully materialized the Sword of Salvation and formed the Manchala formation. He had also taken out the god relics in it and used them. Now, Wuming had turned the tables on Black Follower. But shouldn't you be with Angelica Ainsworth? Why are you here? That was right. Angelica, who fought Wuming in the parallel world, had undoubtedly used Gilgamesh's card. The Gate of Babylon wasn't something that anyone could use. Only Gilgamesh, the king of Babylon, could possess this precious artifact. Just when Wuming was thinking, Black Gilgamesh summoned countless relics from the black ripples again. Forget it. I'm the idiot who's talking to you. No matter what, you're just a force without consciousness now. As Wu Ming spoke, the Manchala formation appeared behind him again. Ah! Black Gil roared and shot countless relics at Wu Ming. Meanwhile, Wu Ming simply waved his hand and countless god relics shot at Black Gil. Bang! 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 Black Gil's relics collided with Wu Ming's god relics and the explosions cancelled each other out. Ah! Black Gil was enraged, perhaps seeing that the technique that he was proud of did not work. Whoosh! Suddenly there was a gust of wind. A black ripple appeared in Hejil's hand, and a strange weapon emerged from it. It was a weapon that looked more like a staff than a sword. Is that the Guile Separation Sword? Wu Ming recognized the weapon that was accompanied by a raging red hurricane as soon as it appeared. After all, Wu Ming had used it before and there was a weapon similar to the Guile Separation Sword in the Manchala formation. However, Wu Ming was not going to use the Guile Separation Sword from the alternate world. That was because, xuanhuan. As Wu Ming commanded, countless chains shot out from the golden ripples behind Wu Ming. Their target was Black Gil, who was holding the Guile Separation Sword. Black Gil seemed to have sensed the danger as well. He immediately summoned the black magical mist around him to block the chains and set up many shield relics in the magical mist. However, how could the improved version of Enkidu, which had both offense and defense, be blocked by the magical mist? Swoosh swoosh swoosh. The golden chains pierced through the magical mist, bypassed the shields, and instantly wrapped around Black Gil. The red hurricane on the Guile Separation Sword that Black Gil was holding disappeared, and the 3 rotating blades stopped spinning. Even the magical mist around Black Gil disappeared. This was the powerful power of the Silent Earth Lock, Enkidu, the binding energy. The magic fog had been forced back into Hejil's body. The magic fog was formed by a class card, so it was natural for it to leak out when there was too much magic in the body. Naturally, it could be taken back. Black Gil roared furiously when he felt that he was restricted. Sure enough, it's just a force. If he's really here, how could he be so easily restrained by Enkidu? Wu Ming shook his head and crossed his arms in regret. Checkmate. Wu Ming flew down from the sky and walked to the restrained Black Gil. Wu Ming extended his hand and infused it with magical power. He instantly inserted it into Black Gil's heart and grabbed a card. It was the class card of the Archer class card. However, Wu Ming discovered a trace of a problem. He could not take out a class card. Hejil, who had been furious, instantly changed his expression. He chuckled as if his plan had worked. Then Wu Ming felt that his hand was corroding. Releasing the class card, Wu Ming instantly pulled his hand out. Looking at his right hand that was still emitting black smoke, Wu Ming could not help but look at Black Gil's heart. I opened a big hole there and there was some black substance inside the hole. However, the black substance was different from the black substance on Black Gil's surface. It was the black mud that had the aura of the Dragon of Origin. TSK. Trouble. Chapter 269. Outside the mirror world, Rin and Osaka and Luvia closed their eyes and crossed their arms as they waited quietly. Bizet, on the other hand, stood in the same spot without moving an inch. Meiyu, on the other hand, looked worriedly at the place where Wu Ming disappeared. As for Ilya, why hasn't Big Brother come out yet? Ilya kept walking and started complaining. Little Black, who was sitting on the steps at the entrance, looked at Ilya with disdain. That's a guy who has absorbed the Earth Vein's magic power for almost 2 months. Even if it's Big Brother, it'll be troublesome. Then Little Black smiled and waved his hand. But with Big Brother's strength, he'll definitely be able to deal with it. But I'm very worried. I can't do anything about it. Ilya drooped her little head and said dejectedly. It's okay. It's normal for Ilya to be worried about Brother Wu Ming. You don't have to feel ashamed about it. Meiyu, who was looking at the spot where Wu Ming disappeared, walked up to Ilya and patted her little head. It seemed like Ilya had never been patted on the head by Meiyu before and was unable to get used to it. What's wrong? Ilya, did I go overboard? Meiyu had a worried look on her face. That's not it. It's just that I'm not used to it. Speaking of which, Meiyu seems to be very familiar with it. Ilya patted her head with a smile. This is because Brother Wu Ming often patted my head at home. I learned it unknowingly, Meiyu said embarrassedly as her cheeks reddened. Meiyu can enjoy Big Brother's patting every day? I'm so envious. Ilya heard and cried out enviously. Ilya, don't be like this. I'm so shy. Wu Ming pushed Ilya with a red face. And just as Ilya was about to say something, the space around her shattered. Gotcha. A red hurricane shot out from the broken space. What is this? Ilya asked in surprise. Then a pitch-black face appeared in the shattered space. What is this? Ilya was clearly shocked. Ilya, may you hurry back? Rin Enbin yelled anxiously. He's not someone you can deal with, Luvia shouted. Bizet, on the other hand, was the first to rush over. Mayu stared blankly at Black Gil, who was not far away. She fell into an overwhelming silence. Mayu clearly knew that this enemy was Wuming's opponent in the mirror world. Since the enemy had broken through space and came out, then Wuming had already... Brother Wuming? Ha! Bizet raised his fist and Lune runes appeared on his fist. Bizet's strengthened fist heavily smashed into Black Gil's face. But, bang! Bizet was sent flying by the impact. Yeah. Black Gil laughed with a twisted expression, and a dense black magic fog surrounded him. This is high-density magic fog. Bazet exclaimed in surprise. This scale is much greater than Saber's. Rin Enbin and Luvia were also surprised. Ilya, let's go. Mayu, who was awakened by Bizet's attack, instantly pulled Ilya and flew toward Rin Enbin and Luvia. Hurry. Ilya, you take me. Mayu, take Luvia. Let's quickly retreat from here, Rin Enbin said. But big brother, crack. Space shattered, and an exit that allowed Black Gil to pass through appeared. Black Gil laughed loudly. Whoosh bang. A black arrow hit Black Gil, and the resulting explosion covered Black Gil's figure. Little Black. Ilya looked at Little Black. What are you doing? Hurry up and retreat. Little Black maintained his bow and arrow posture, and projected another bow and arrow. But Big Brother, he's still... Ilya said worriedly. Big Brother is very powerful. He'll be fine. On the other hand, if Big Brother comes out of the mirror world and finds out that we're dead, then Big Brother will be very sad. Ilya, let's retreat. At this moment, Mayu's voice came from beside Ilya. Mayu? What? Ilya didn't understand why Mayu also chose to retreat and give up on Wuming. Brother Wuming and I have an agreement. Brother Wuming said that he will definitely return safely from the mirror world. I believe in Brother Wuming. Seeing Mayu's firm gaze, Ilya was dazed for a moment. Then she smiled and nodded heavily. Okay, I understand. Let's go, Ruby. Wow. You're all pumped up. Whoosh. Boom. Blackie shot another arrow at Hegel. Black Gil was enraged by Little Black's behavior. Hurry up and come over. I'll cover you. Little Black, who was already at the entrance, naturally didn't need to take the lead. Thus she needed to cover the others. Then Ilya carried Rin Enbin while Mayu carried Luvia. The two of them flew toward the entrance of the passage. Bizet, who originally wanted to continue attacking, also began to retreat after Rin Enbin said, the opponent has a noble artifact that can break through space. If you want to die, we won't stop you. It could only be said that Bizet was a little silly. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Little Black shot a few more arrows at Black Gil. Bang. Boom. However, Black Gil's magical mist shattered all of Little Black's arrows. Black Gil roared. Black ripples appeared around him and countless noble artifacts appeared. Black Gil roared again and countless noble artifacts shot toward Little Black. Little Black, run. Ilya and the others had already arrived at the center of the passage, so they hurriedly called for Little Black, who was still fighting Black Gil and covering them, to retreat. Little Black jumped lightly and grabbed the handrail of the stairs in the passage. Boom 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 boom. Countless noble artifacts that lost their target bombarded the wall and the ceiling began to shake. Boom, boom, not good, Big Brother hasn't come out yet. Ilya exclaimed when she saw the underground cave began to collapse. It's too late. The collapse of the cave can only delay the Black Servant's footsteps. We must quickly leave the passage and return to the surface. Otherwise, it's likely that we will be killed in this passage. Rin Enbin said calmly. Ilya and the others who were no longer emotional looked at each other, nodded, and began to fly toward the surface. At this moment, a sound like an airplane taking off came from the underground. You're tuning in to the Sword Dance in the Vast Sky YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.